morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday, 6:32 here in the United Kingdom. This is Breakfast with Winners, brought to you by the Winners Club. And this morning we're talking about growing your business. Do you know why I'm laughing? I just literally, because I haven't been on Clubhouse much for the last couple of days, I just jumped on and I've had like loads of little notifications. I was like, what's the latest one? Oh, Dr. Maggie's messaged me. I can't remember what the context of this was, but the latest message I had from anyone was Dr. Maggie's going, good morning, James. I'm just listening in from the audience. I start my day dancing naked. I'm like, huh? What were we talking about on Monday? How's that come about? I think we started to talk about, I can't remember. So there you go, guys. If you're wondering, Dr. Maggie starts the day.
Could take a complete.
Yeah. So she slid into my DMs. Dr. Maggie slid into my DMs. Fantastic news. It's a great start to the day, isn't it? Happy she's not even here to defend herself either. Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? It's Wednesday, and that means it is business workshop kind of time, gang. Every single week, we're now structuring the content a little bit more. And on a Monday, we like to cover all things wellness and health and mindset and peak performance related. Tuesday, we like to have marketing problems solved. Wednesdays, we like to do the business workshop. We like to do some crypto and wealth stuff on a Thursday. And Friday, we normally have a big guest. We've also got a big guest today, guys, which I'm very excited about. So not only have we got the business workshop talking all things about growing your business, but we've also got a guy who knows a thing or two about growing businesses. We've got the one and only Rob Moore, who is coming down to London town all the way from Peterborough. Do you think he's bringing any jelly babies with him? You know what I'm talking about. Do you think he's bringing any jelly babies? He might ask for 40 or grand when he gets here with the jelly babies, but I've been seeing that develop. You've been watching that on his stories. Yeah,
he might bring us a surprise.
You never know. You never know. So yeah, our friend of the show, Rob Moore, is on the way to the studio. This was I think he tried to do this 2 weeks ago and ended up getting stuck in traffic. He broke his own rule. The road was closed.
There's one road between here and Peterborough and it's blocked. Yeah,
that's right. He's got a rule that if he's driving it anywhere that's more than like half an hour, or if he's going to do interviews and stuff, he has somebody drive him, and he broke his own rule. He tried to give it the big one and drive himself, and he's like, this is why you don't do it yourself. So yeah, he's en route to town. Big shout out as well to everybody who applied yesterday. So yesterday, Paul and Matty Wilson announced very exciting news. Not only are did he announce, because I missed this because I was like half asleep in bed. Did he announce
super early bird EMC tickets are available? Yes.
Did he announced the speakers?
Yes.
All of them, like the big ones.
Billie Jean, Karen Brady.
Yeah. Billie Jean's coming to London. I flipping. Do you know who Billie Jean is?
I've seen him on social media. Then I looked into him when Matt said it a while ago.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
And then I looked into him and his Wolf of Wall Street marketing video.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's like
I love Billie Jean. He's such a clever dude because he's a great marketer, but he's also telling you how to do great marketing by doing great marketing. So at the moment he's selling. I don't know if you've seen this. He's selling empty boxes. He's literally got a website called emptybox.com and he's sold about 100 grand's worth of empty boxes. He's like, I'm going to literally sell you fresh air to show you that it can be done. And because he's got such a fan base of supporters, for like $50, people will buy these empty, and it just says emptybox.com and you just buy a box of nothing. He's like, that's how easy it is to make money. It's brilliant. I love his content. So yeah, super excited to see Billie Jean. Did he mention...
Sounds like some businesses over here.
Yeah,
just you don't know you're getting an empty box.
Fresh air.
FreshAir.com. Did he mention...
It's a bit like our version 1 of the app.
Don't slag ourselves off.
Version 2 is going to get better.
Version 2
get better.
But the empty box has got something in this time.
Jesus Christ.
If you want an update on the app, actually, I'll give it to you. We've passed the first stage of verification. So hopefully within the next, I would say, 24 to 48 hours at best, everybody's phone should update with version 2.
Because there was some stuff, because we changed some stuff inside it. You have to get it newly approved by Apple and Google. Then you need a security certificate or something.
Fireside certificate, if anyone knows.
I mean, this is why that other guy offered a snap. This is why he gets paid the big bucks.
Anyway,
he don't know nothing about either, frankly. But
we've solved the fireside. We solved the fireside certificate issue. So we've fixed it.
Awesome stuff. So yes, version 2 of the app coming soon. So there's lots of exciting stuff happening in the world of the Winners Club. Involvement in EMC. Fortitude launched yesterday as well. Not only did EMC and the big speakers, Billie Jean, Karen Brady, Lisa Johnson, who else is on the lineup? Paul Abercrombie. I mean, all the hitters. All the hitters in the marketing game. Hasn't put out an Insta story in more than a week. All the hitters in the marketing game, you say?
I put one out yesterday.
Oh, did you?
No,
I must have missed that.
Do you know
Blinking,
what?
you missed it.
Do you know what? On Instagram, when like people you follow and they haven't done story for a while. And
That's my plan. That's my plan.
No, it's sort of, I don't know why. I haven't got the bell when Paul just notifies me, like, Paul Abercrombie's done a story. But I think
It's because it's such a big announcement. Even Instagram's like, fuck, he's still here, guys. He's still plugging away.
Instantly, in my head, I'm like, it's going to be podcast content. Like, I think I'm going to look just in case it's not.
Just in case.
Just in case. It's
Think of all that time that you spend doing Instagram stories. If you actually applied that to something useful.
It is useful though, isn't it? Look at the attention. Look at the heat. Look at the heat that I'm bringing. Look at the heat. It's very true. I'm just, yes.
It needs one of us that can do videos. that can talk into the camera.
And when we find that one person, we'll go, nail it. When we find that one person, I love
the filters you've been trying to put on yourself. Why have you been trying to put filters on yourself? Is that to make yourself look better than you are? Is that to hide your pasty skin?
Yeah, you basically
get
to a certain age, you realise that actually from the side you look like a receding great white shark with a big nose and a forehead that's ever chasing back your hair, and you go, do you know, I've got to do something about
so
this.
The filter's a quick fix.
Yeah. And I tried to look all cool and edgy and shit, and everyone's like, oh, you stood down with the kids at 38, but you can't see my receding hair.
Your number one fan, Charlotte, says, look at James's story. I just get a message, just like, look at James's story. the dad dancing.
My wife knows more about James than I do. She's like, James in Leeds today. Is he? Oh, okay. All right, yeah, cool.
I know more about your life through your missus. I was very excited to see your oldest daughter get into the next stage of football training yesterday. There's like information I'd like to know as your business partner and friend, but I'll just wait till Joanne should. She's even got to the stage now of tagging you, and he can't even be asked to retweet, reshare, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or what it is, I would tag you in a post, and it would be like, like when the story's about to expire.
Yeah.
It's like you relive it just for that extra 24 hours because it's taken him nearly 20 hours to retweet it.
No, yeah, she's 10, my daughter. She's playing with 12-year-olds now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's actually quite good though, isn't she?
You've got no. Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. Well, obviously she's playing up 2 years, so she must be. Yes.
Yeah.
She keeps getting moved up, but she's part of this. She plays in goals. She's part of a goalkeeper academy, and they moved her up instead of training with her age group. She's now training with the 12-year-olds
because they were all like mega into it in lockdown. They still, now the world's opened up a bit more, they're still all into it. The kids.
Yeah.
They're
But
mad
my daughter's mad because she's very girly. I'll say that in the nicest possible way. I've got 2 girls and 2 boys, but you know, the smallest of things upset her at home, and the smallest of little bumps make her cry at home. Yet she goes and stands in a goal with a set of goalkeeper gloves on, and she's diving 5 foot in the air, landing on the ground, rolling over, getting up, getting balls kicked in her face, getting up, getting on with it. No tears, no drama, nothing. Yeah, at home, a spider will make her, have palpitations. So, yeah.
It's
all about context, isn't it? It's all about context of environment.
I've never seen anything like it.
When you say like being booted with a football, imagine that cold weather being spanked in the face.
Do you remember back in the day?
And you'd get whacked in the face.
Oh, she goes out with about 15 layers of padding on. So she has, every time, as she's progressed, because she's now, her little girls team are now playing against, in a boys league, because they sort of got promoted out of the girls league because they kept beating the other girls teams. So
really?
So they got moved up into so they now play against boys. So the first couple of weeks she was playing against boys, she was worried about it, obviously, and the shots that were coming out were a bit harder.
It's mixed now.
It is. Leagues are mixed?
No, like boys and girls.
Yeah, I think it's up to 13. They can play mixed.
Juniors, they do, yeah.
She's in a whole complete girls team, and they're playing against complete boys teams, and the shots were coming out a bit harder. So every time she goes out on the field and she comes back, we add another accessory to it. So she hurt her wrist the other week because she saved a shot and it pushed her wrist back a little bit. Nothing bad. So she's now got big wrist supports. So she's got wrist supports, gloves.
Like the Michelin man, just
padding under the padding. Then she's got like these base layer tops that are padded as well. So they go over like specifically for girls. So they go over the top, and then another like padded top goes over that. So she's padded up.
All of a sudden, there's going to be no room to score.
Knee pads, elbow pads.
You just can't, by default, you can't get it past her because she's the size of the goal with all of her padding. Like the Michelin man. I used to play in goal when I was a kid, and like I say, on a cold Sunday morning. But back in the day as well, do you remember that footballs were made of like really crap leather? So they were all like the 32 hexagons stitched together, and the stitcher would go just in the corners. It was like little razor blades. Do you remember?
My mate used that as an analogy. He called someone a weathered football. And I was like, and I fully understood it. I was like, he looks like a weathered football. But the one where it starts flapping off.
Yeah, flapping in the corners. Oh.
Did my wife? I'll have to look at that. She tagged me in having it.
She tagged you, yeah.
Okay.
She said that she's very proud. And she tagged you to see if you were proud, but you were too busy.
I know they was doing something when I brought her back from training and she told her mum, they went off and took a photo about it. I knew they was doing something. I just let them do their thing.
Anything for a quiet life.
Yeah.
Anything for a quiet life. Well, good morning, everybody. Anyway. Let's have a quick repeat of the room. This is Breakfast with this is Breakfast with Winners. Easy for me to say. Growing your business special from the Winners Club. Hey, we've been getting quite a few newbies to the party, which is good. If you've got your party hat, I can see down the bottom there, I can see Ephraim, I can see Beta, I can see a couple of the others who've got party hats on down the bottom. Welcome along to the party. I can see some regular faces, some new faces in the followed by the speaker section as well. If you haven't yet done so, click onto the little green Monopoly house at the top of the room right now. And also, guys, if you think that this would be a useful conversation for anyone who follows you, maybe potentially here on Clubhouse, give the little share button in the bottom left-hand corner a little click. You can share the conversation. You can either share it to your social media or you can share it to your Clubhouse hall as well. So there's obviously, for those of us who have been here for a while, you understand how it works. But if you're new, basically the way to find interesting conversations is by following the right people. So give me and Paul and Ash a follow. Guys, so that for a while. Give us a follow. Do you remember we used to beg a follow every 10 minutes? Give us a follow.
It worked though, didn't it? We used to get about thousands a day. Doesn't work anymore.
No, it doesn't anymore. Seriously unpopular since those golden days. But yeah, give us a follow. And also then, if you don't mind, give this conversation a share. Click the share button in the bottom left-hand corner. And then people who are roaming the hallways will be able to potentially find out about this conversation. And in about an hour-ish, I'm guessing, based on leaving at 5:30 in the morning from Peterborough, Rob Moore is en route. He will be with us this morning.
There's no news yet. No news.
Traffic being well, he'll be here for... live in the studio. We'll be talking all things business, marketing, branding, maybe crypto and jelly babies. Maybe we'll have that conversation. Who knows?
Who knows where it will go?
No, when you said about
Heavy
getting
rock.
the likes, I was around my dad's last night. And he was like, "Imagine like Clubhouse went down." And I was.
Why would you say that, Gary? What's wrong with you?
But do you remember that time that it actually went down and everyone? Had
Yes.
And and then I was like, he was like, "Well, how long did it go down for?" And I said, "I think it was a couple of hours, but this was when it was everyone's life."
Yeah.
It was only like an evening. I think it was just an evening.
Yeah, that's
everyone
right,
was
yeah.
panicking, and
It's been an outage, guys. It's been an outage. So they used to get sort of, was it the Kanye conversation? There was going to be a panel with Kanye and Elon.
and it blew
the whole thing up. Do you remember? And this is when they used to have caps of room numbers.
Yes.
I think it was 7,000, wasn't it? And it hit 8,000. I was like, well, it shouldn't have gone over 7,000. There's a glitch in the matrix. And then I think they'd opened it up to 10,000 like the next week. Because obviously they're just sort of rolling out the server space, aren't they? They can only handle a certain amount of traffic.
Elon shut it down. I think Mark Zuckerberg come on.
He came on, that's right.
Shut it down.
But he would just like
Zuckerberg, is he related to Zuckerberg?
He's his German cousin.
Zuckerberg.
Hello, my name is Jürgen Zuckerberg.
Oh wow. But yeah, no, it's
Zuckerberg features in that podcast I was telling you about, actually, about crypto. Do you remember, because this is probably before the days where you were seriously interested in crypto, Captain Crypto, I'm looking at you here. Do you remember Libra?
Yeah.
The coin, and they were going to sort of like roll it out as this sort of like, no one owned it, 100 big organisations will all have like an equal stake in it, and then like everyone, all the major corporations bricked it enough, and the countries, more to the point, bricked it enough, they're like, oh, they could actually do some damage here. So they started bringing in regulations and stuff. It's interesting. If you're
I haven't
interested,
got to that episode yet.
oh yeah, spoiler alert, it doesn't
Cheers.
work out.
well, I finished Afterlife, just to let you know.
Oh, fantastic!
And every time I told someone, I was like, "Oh, do you know them two fellas? What's their names again?"
Which ones?
The ones that you was like, "I bet they're like your pals."
Oh, Ratty and the Nonce.
Yeah, no, you're not the only one that said that.
No disrespect to Ashley's friends, by the way. I can just see they are a certain calibre of people. Those. Have you watched season 3?
I've watched it all now.
You watched it all. Did you cry? Own up.
Yeah, it's emotional, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like
isn't it?
really, but it's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's really good and
It's the only program I've ever watched where they're talking about sort of death and hard drugs, and you'll cry and feel sorry for a heroin addict all in the same episode. I'm like, what is going on here?
I just need Paul to watch it now.
It's a work of art. He won't watch it, will he? He's probably the only person in the UK could watch it and not have even a flicker of emotion. What do you think about that section there, Paul? She's dead, Paul. What do you think? Couldn't care. Could care less. I'm reading
It's
a
on the
crypto
list to
book.
watch.
That's just life, boys.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
You're lucky if you get that far. Crypto. Okay.
Remind everybody about YouTube, please.
Oh, yeah. So if you click onto the link at the top of the room right now, there is a little link tree, and in there, there's multiple places you can go and spot. If you want to go and check out the super early bird tickets for EMC, you can do. If you want to do the Fortitude application for our brand new mastermind, which we announced yesterday, you can do that as well. And or you can go on to check us out. Check us out. I don't know. What on earth has happened to me today? But a couple of days without you two, and I go cray. But we're on YouTube. We're streaming live on YouTube. You can watch right now. It looks like
You get a good view of
BBC.
Ashley's forehead.
Why does my forehead look so big today?
Well, you keep leaning forward to the camera and looking
I'm
down at
staying
your
out of the
phone.
light.
And unfortunately, all we see is your forehead.
Have you noticed that I'm staying out of the light now because you can't see how pastely pale I look?
So it's nearly summer.
Thank God for that. Are you going away in the summer? You going to go like out? You go abroad?
Yeah, I think so.
Where are you going to go? Oh, God. Oh, that was an innocent question.
Not to be confirmed yet. Don't know.
We booked
I think,
an
well,
island.
the problem is, I'm sure there's others. We haven't got my daughter's 12.
Right.
And actually this is probably a problem a lot of people have got, actually. She's 12. She's not been vaccinated.
Oh, no, you're a non-vaxxer. You're a
No,
non-believer.
we're not. Me and my wife are vaccinated. We just...
Don't want to do it to the kids.
Yeah.
No, fair
I don't
enough.
see the need at the moment, right? And
No.
there's arguments for and arguments against. I'm not going to get into them now. But the problem is, everywhere you go now, there's very few countries that are... so travelling appears to be easier, but there's very few countries that count 12. Basically, it's for vaccinated people 12 and over.
Okay.
So she would fall into the unvaccinated
Yeah.
category, which means quarantine either side or where you go and additional testing and all sorts of stuff. So it's quite difficult.
Yeah. My pal's got a house in Marbella and he hasn't been able to get out there because he's like, I'm not having it. He's like, it's my right not to, like, why should I have it? But the only way he could potentially get there would be to do a shifty one, get on a ferry to
The person we
Belgium.
know.
Yeah. And get on a ferry to Belgium and then drive around Belgium. But he'd have to drive, I think, through Germany because France are like super hot on it. He'd have to drive through Germany and then
proper
through.
detour.
Yeah, you'd have to like do a proper sly one.
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
It's not. We're not against it, but yeah. It's difficult to get Spain's out the question completely for anyone unvaccinated. Most places are, to be fair. Europe's basically out the. Greece is okay. Greece, I think they're classing it as 16 and over, so we're okay for Greece. So we'll probably end up in Greece.
There'll be a few like really, really previously ropey destinations which could become like tourist hotspots. Come here if you're not vaccinated. Visit Pakistan.
The good news, Barbados.
Come to Uruguay.
We're okay for Barbados as well.
Thank
so
God.
that's good.
Thank God. So your favourite haunt you'll be all right in.
So no, it's just difficult for 12 because she's 12. Most people are classing that as adults. Sort of, you've got to be fully vaccinated now.
In what world?
What 12? Yeah, 12 is
12 is not an adult. 12 is a legitimate child.
No, but they're not saying it's an adult, but they're saying anyone 12 and over,
yeah,
not vaccinated.
but they do that in the travel game anyway, don't they? Like normally 12 is the cut-off point between like a child seat and like an adult seat. It's like how you working
It's
out
only
that?
when it suits on price points.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
We
So if you buy anything from Ashley Shipman, doesn't matter what your age, you're always an adult. For price purposes, you're always an adult.
Next summer,
You're a human being.
well, we've got a choice to make because next summer we've got planned. We've planned it for years. We're going to do like the whole 6 weeks holidays in America.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not
What, like
this coming
Disney and all
summer.
that?
We was going to do hire a big Winnebago road trip.
Oh, really?
And
Oh,
just
brilliant.
Go all spend 6 weeks just driving all over America.
That really appeals to me.
That'd be great.
But
Yeah, you can't do that.
can't do that at the moment because you've got to be vaccinated. So it's difficult. I don't know, and I don't know the reasons why. I have this debate continuously with my wife. You know, at the end of the day, we give kids a flu jab, or not a flu jab, but they go into school and get a flu vaccination sprayed up their nose. Nobody ever questions what's in that. We've never questioned what's in that for years. We've just signed the consent form and sent
See you
them to
later. Have a
school
good
to
day.
get
Yeah.
consent.
See ya.
But now all of a sudden we seem to be massively against this vaccination.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
I think it's
The family line is she's not having it. All right.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
At this moment in time,
No, I get that though. I wouldn't be.
until it affects that. Yeah, but we're hypocrites because as soon as it affects our plan in 2 years' time to go to America,
We strongly stand against
We'll
this.
be
Can't go
marching her
America.
down.
Okay, fine. Jabbing
to
all of them.
to get a vaccine. Yeah,
Boy, little one, you're getting jabbed and all. I don't need it. Don't worry. Just you're having it.
that's the problem about us Brits, isn't it? We're all anti-vaxxers until we can't get on the plane to Dubai, and then we're queuing up to get a jab put in our arm. Off we go.
I stand up for my morals until my morals go against
That's exactly what's happened.
my social plans.
So Luke he's been against it, and he's going Miami and San Francisco. And he was just like,
So he's all of a sudden for it, yeah?
Yeah, he's all of a sudden for it, booked it. He's like, I'm going away in 3 months, so I need to sort this out.
He's having bonus ones. He's getting all free. He's having a booster in each arm.
I'll have free if I have free. I need to give me free.
Can we do them at the same time? I've got to sit it for 10 minutes anyway. I promise I'll sit it for half an hour. Jab me up. Go.
It's amazing
Free and a
what
booster.
convinces us to change our minds,
No,
isn't it?
that's exactly what I've just seen. And he was like, well, no, because he was going San Francisco, and he said, I might, if I'm going to get the jab, I'd add on Miami as well. Because
He's extended his holiday because he's got a kid. Goes against my moral compass, so I might as well treat myself to Miami as well. I like San Fran. You ever been to San Fran?
Yeah.
It's good San Fran, isn't it? I like it. It's really nice. You'll like it. You'll have a good time.
Strange times we live in. Anyway, so we get back to the topic.
Yeah, let's
Some
do
useful
that.
content.
So, growing your business. It is the Small Business Workshop. If you have got a small business, an SME, and by the way, that's pretty much most of the population, isn't it? 'Cause what's a small business? Like under 50 million quid in turnover?
It's only in the same bracket, small to medium, isn't it? So
We look
we
this
looked
up every single week. You'd think
so
we've memorised
small's
it
up
by
to
now.
10.
You'd
I
think
think
we'd have
small's up to 10.
bookmarked it.
Small's up to 10. And medium.
That's
50.
micro, isn't it? A
Oh, no,
micro business
micro,
is up to 10 and under $250,000 quid in turnover. Here he goes. Paul's looking it up. So micro business is under 10 staff count or a turnover of under 2 mil. Small is under 50 people, turnover under 10 mil. And a medium-sized enterprise is under 250 and a turnover of under 50 mil. Hey, what happens then if you've got more than 250 but your turnover is less than 50 mil? What happens then?
You're running a bad business.
Boy, perfectly back on brand. I'll touch base with James Sinclair, let him know.
You won't have more than 250 people and less than 50 million turnover for very long.
Yeah.
Right, so let's get into it then, gang. So if you have got a question or query, by the way, Rob Moore is en route from Peterborough down to the studio in London, so he'll be with us in the next hour or so, fingers crossed, unless traffic allowing, so he should be here shortly. So we're going to be going into all kinds of different conversations with Rob as well. But before Rob gets here, we're doing the Small Business Workshop. We have got a panel of expert speakers. We have got a great advice and guidance. Paul's obviously here. He's scaled up a business or two in his time. So we are going to be helping you guys out. So if anyone on stage, by the way, if you're listening on our on the app or you're listening to the radio player thinking, God, this is a good conversation, I'd like to listen to this in real time, you can do. Just come and find us on, what's that thing called? Clubhouse. Do you know, we got Mind Blowers, or what's it called? Clubhouse. And search for the Winners Club. You can listen to these conversations live every single day, 6:30 a.m. And if you're thinking, why is he talking about that? We're on Clubhouse right now. We are repurposing our content into multiple different places, gang, which is why I'm letting everybody know how to come and find us and get the most value from the conversation. By the way, if you are new to the room, if you've never shared before, if you'd like to come up on stage, you are more than welcome to do so. Stick your hand raised in the air, wave it around like you just don't care. Let me turn it off. And then I'll turn it back on again. So please only stick your hand up if you've got a question that you'd like to come up and share. That would be awesome. And don't forget, you can share the room as well by clicking the bottom left-hand button. So has anyone got a question that they would like to put to the panel this morning? A small business challenge, a scale-up question. What are you doing in your business? Do you want some advice and some guidance? No one's flashing. No one's got any questions. So done. Great stuff. Cheers for your
See you
email.
later. We'll close it, shall we? Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye. Imagine if we did. I would love, just for banter, I'd love to shut the room before 7 o'clock just to see what happened. Right. No one's got any challenges? No one's got any small business questions that they'd like to ask? Literally nobody. Okay. I tell you what, we've had a small business, not a challenge, but we are going through interesting times. So I was away up in Leeds doing a couple of days worth of work. And it seems like, you know, that whole thing of like everything you've done has led you to the point where you are right now. And sometimes if you're in a good place, you're like, that's great advice. Sometimes you're in a shit place, you're like, that's shit advice. Like, I don't want to hear that. But this last couple of days, I was like, this is all tying together. So as an agency, for everyone probably knows me best here for doing podcasts, but I also do brand consultancy, but kind of like to a weird little super powerful niche of people that has just sort of accidentally crept up on me. I didn't intentionally go after this marketplace, but this marketplace has come and sort of sort me out. Off the back of that, there's opportunities for us to scale our agency offering quite quickly and move into different areas. But it's very interesting how you find yourself I'm needing Paul to coach me through the process, because I've always run like something that I control and that I am sort of driving the direction of, and I can handle all the aspects of it. But we've got a potential opportunity to scale what we're doing like quite quick, and to put 10 bums on seats and to roll out a much bigger agency offering quite quickly. And it's really interesting what your instant internal narrative says. So basically, long story short, there's an opportunity for outside investment to come into our agency quite quick. It's probably the sort of thing you can have a conversation today.
Just to clarify, is this like a live coaching session?
Yeah, basically.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
I just need to know why, or I would like to know if anyone else has been through this process, or when you're getting to a certain stage and you've been there before and you've done it before. And I've had multiple things that haven't worked out. And I've had a few businesses that have worked out. When you get to like doing quite well, you're like, oh, this is interesting. But sort of gradually it grew on me, that business. And so you could grow as it grew, if that makes sense, your mentality, your understanding of it. But this could go quite quick, quite fast. And you'd go from, the three of us as mutual partners in it to some outside investment, and then like 10 staff sat downstairs in a big agent. No, I say a big agency, a small agency, but quite a powerful agency quite quick. Because I've never done it before. It's quite interesting what your internal dialogue says to you by default. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. But if I look at it on paper, I'm like, why on earth would I not want to do that? Like, it's going to shortcut 3 years. So what is that?
Tell us, why don't you want to do it?
I don't know, Paul. I'm asking you.
Is it nerves through taking investment?
Yeah, maybe it's just that thing
Not
of
nerves. It's like it's different comfort zones.
Yeah. Because I've never done it before as well. Like I've had partnerships before, but we've all put in. Yeah, we've all put in equally, and it's been in the majority of instances, like I guess it is with a lot of small businesses, you're putting in sweat equity to start with, rather than £250,000 of someone's cash, if that makes sense. I'm like, oh, okay, sure, that's a bit different, and I don't know whether it's being answerable to somebody else, because effectively, as soon as you own a business, you're answerable to every single client and every member of staff anyway. So I'm like, is that the issue? What's my problem, Paul? Why am I broken?
Only you can answer that question, if I'm being honest.
Nobody here is qualified to answer that. But did you have that when you were scaling up your, let's say, with like the architect's practice, for example, and you'd been someone who's been through like seriously challenging business times before? Was there a time when you had, you walk in, you bought a business for £1 and you had 14 staff the next day? Was there ever a point where you sat down in the sort of the corner office going, okay, guys, I'm here to steer the ship in the right direction? And go, why am I going to do it?
Yeah, every day.
Oh, thank God. I thought it was just me.
Yeah, every day. But we bootstrapped that business. Well, I bootstrapped that business. We didn't take a penny of investment from anyone. So we grew that organically out of just generating cash and then reinvesting it back into the business. So actually, the only time I took money from anybody, we had to get a deposit bond for a project where we had to, in the construction world, you take deposits and you get deposits, and we had to put up a deposit bond. Very backwards way of working, but the banks effectively issue you a bond, which was cash backed. So we had to deposit £500,000 of cash into the bank, and then the bank would give you a bit of paper to say that's a bond and protection, and effectively it goes into a locked account.
Okay.
And the client at the other end will get
the piece of paper, the promise.
Yeah, the piece of paper.
So if this goes sideways, the bank's holding £500,000. It's almost like an escrow account.
Yeah, effectively.
Gotcha.
So we had to. I borrowed the £500,000 from somebody to put into the bond account, and then we had a commercial arrangement on giving it back to them and interest and stuff like that. So, but by large, that business was grown out of bootstrapping it and cash flowing it, which caused most of the pain points, to be honest.
Would you take from bootstrapping it before? Does it make you like acceptance of taking investments now, because you can see the power? If you had the money, how quicker you could have scaled things. Because you've got experience now, so could you comfortably take capital to invest into yourself instead of bootstrapping it? What would you rather take now? Like, where's your head at with?
Now, now I would rather, having the experience I've got, I would take and manage somebody's investment all day long first as number one priority, because you'll get there so much quicker. But if you've never done that before, equally you could fuck it up quicker.
Yeah.
So because your head has to go to a completely different place when you take someone's money.
Yeah.
When you're building a business for yourself, you're making a decision every day. The decision is you and you only. You look yourself in the mirror, and the decision is, what do I want to do and how do I do it?
Yeah.
You can change direction very quickly. You can pivot very quickly. And like you said, you don't answer to anybody. Well, you do. We all answer to somebody, don't we? But by large, you don't answer to anybody. When you've got somebody's funds, your responsibility is, although you don't know it, is to deliver value to them, shareholder value to them. So how are you going to do that? Yes, it's growing the business, but your number one priority is delivering value to your shareholder. Because if you do that to them, they'll back you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
In every project you're involved with, in everything you ever do. So it's how do you repay their investment and how do you deliver them value? So you've just got to switch your mindset into, is my plan big enough to be able to deliver them the value that I'm promising them?
That was an interesting point of the conversation as well. Because when I'm sort of, again, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And I'm sort of sitting there driving back from Leeds yesterday, I'm thinking, so someone puts this amount of money in, and we could create it, like, if you don't have the money, either way you can make it work, but you could create a very, very substantially successful lifestyle business, let's call it, where you've got, 3, 4, 5 million quid worth of turnover, high profit margins, small-ish team to drive that. But then I'm thinking, well, that's not got enough meat on the bones for someone to feed 3 families and an investor, if that makes sense. Like, it's going to do one person really, really comfortable, or 2 people really, or us 3 comfortably, but there's not going to be enough meat on the bones to make it for someone who invests for a simple return. This is someone who's sold out for like 9 figures, done very, very well. Like, why on earth are they going to do it for, a couple of grand back each year? They're not going to be interested. Do you know what I mean? Like 10% return on your £250,000 Cheers. He's like, no, I'll lump it into Dogecoin for 5 minutes to see if that works out as the alternative potentially. But then the conversation that Paul had with me, he's like, actually, no, you've got to roll out everything that we're doing. So whereas before we've said, right, Winners Club is separate, all these things are separate, now they have to all go into the pot, because you've got to, and this was really interesting, but he said, because otherwise the shareholders will look at it and go, well, you're working on that, but I don't see the benefit of that uplift. So you've got to lump everything together. So that's another part of it, is to go, okay, well, this is, the podcast agency being one part of what we offer, but now to go, right, we're bolting on all this other stuff. And then there's all this stuff around it as well that you've got to put in. It's just a very different mindset.
Well, it's like if you ever watch Dragon's Den and they ask investors to invest into just one part of the business. Yeah, it ruffles their feathers.
Well, it's friction, isn't it? Yes. You get, there's enough friction in doing what you're doing anyway. Let alone now you're sitting with, when you've always got to look at it when the back's against the wall and it's going wrong, and it will go wrong, and you have to be able to recover that. When you're having those difficult conversations with the person that's invested in you, what are the friction points that are going to come up, and what are their bugbears and problems, and you've got to look at those in advance and say, how do I offset that before we even get involved in the relationship? Yeah. How do I combat that and make it as streamlined as we can? And then it's just, look, often people having that difficult, when you're looking at investors, you've got to look at, we say, Spencer said it in this room, hasn't he, before, 5-year plan is useless. It is to some extent, but when you're trying to convince investors of what this business could be worth in the future, you've got to have that bigger, bolder vision and say, this is what we want to try and achieve, and these are the steps we're going to take to get there. You don't necessarily have to have all of the narrative worked out and all of the minutiae detail, but you need to have the major building blocks and the steps and go, okay, year 1 target is this, year 2 is this, year 3 is this, because you've got to try and prove to that person that's going to give you the money of how you're going to get that value in 3, 4, 5 years' time for them.
Yeah. I think that 5-year plan it's like once operating, then you should do like 30 90-day goals. But that 5-year plan is what they want to see. They want to see cash flow forecast. They want to know that you ain't going to run out of money. That's the number one thing. Normally they go, I've gone through this stuff loads. Their number one thing is you're going to run out of money. You're going to run out of money. And they're saying that in the respect of, make sure your numbers are right so we can give you the right amount of money.
Yeah.
They're not saying like they're just saying like you're predicting you're going to need £500,000. You're not. You're going to. What about if it doesn't start turning for 24 months? You're going to need £1 million. Yeah. Why don't you create that safety net so we can see that if we do need to go that far, Series B, C, and D can go straight in. But it's understanding that, because
my pal was on Dragon's Den the other week, and he was looking for 50 grand, because you have to, what you pitch the TV company at, you have to stick at that money. You can't change your amounts or the percentages. So he'd gone in, and I think it was like 50k for 5% or something like that. But between the time of doing the audition, which by the way they got asked to do, not the other way around, which is another nice little spin that the BBC don't tell people. But between that time, they'd raised £250,000 in crowdfunding. So like, well, the numbers don't stack up. So they're like, we've got to like crash the pitch effectively. Like we can't take the money. Like bottom line, we can't take the money, even if it gets offered. We've got to look at it as like promo, if that makes sense. And they said exactly the same thing. They were looking at the business model and they wanted 50 grand. They said, what's it going to take to get this to market? It's a tech company, it's a delivery company. Like tech companies are notorious for, they will lose money for 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
And you've got investors who will back it for that amount of time. But they said, you're looking for 50 grand. What's it going to take to actually get it off the ground? And straight face, not my mate, but the other guy went, 15 million quid. And they went, well, what are you going to do with 50 grand then? Peter Jones went, well, you're going to burn for that in a week. Yeah, I'm out. And I say, it's actually, if you go in there and say, I need 5 million, because it's going to take 15 to get it off the ground in 36 months, that's a more realistic kind of investment that they're going to get their money back from. But 50K into, so it's going to burn 15 mil before it makes a profit. They're like, nah, mate.
But the thing is, it's not a problem. Just show the investor, because we've got a guest coming in who got investment from Peter Jones, and in when I've like looked into it, he still puts 4 million back into that business a year, investing for growth.
Yeah,
but that's not a problem, because they projected them things
Yeah.
at early stage. It was like, on top of the investment the person took, he also done like another 4 million. But as you said, he created the 5-year plan, so he knew,
sold them on the vision of it and the roadmap. Yeah.
So it's like, but yeah, lucky the person was open to say that he needed help, and he'll be in next month.
Is that on?
Yeah.
Hey, that'd be a great interview. Awesome stuff. All right, we've had some questions. So Kev is in the audience. Lovely Kev. I haven't heard from Kev in a while. Kev, are you still there? Have you got a question for us, pal?
I am. Bless you, pal. Good morning, winners. Good morning, everyone. Yeah.
Where the hell have you been, Kev? I've been worried sick, by the way. I've not seen you, heard from you. We've had no banter. What's going on? You okay?
I am.
You okay? How's things? You all right?
Do you know what? I'm okay. James. Yeah.
Good.
Ever since I came back from quarantine, and I've managed to get myself a new Instagram account. I think I'm all right now.
Oh, that is you.
God,
That is you then, Kev.
That is me now. Yeah, the real Kev Hawkin is me. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
I think I'm still following your other one. I've invested so much money with you, Kev. I can't wait to see a return on it. Sorry, mate. I couldn't resist.
I didn't get that at first, and then I picked it up.
Well, actually, you say that, but I did find out finally that one person had actually parted with 500 Bitcoin, £500, of Bitcoin to that hacker. So that was the only person that I found out had actually parted with some Bitcoin for believing that I was the one talking to her. So I was a bit gutted by that, but there was about 4 or 5 other people that had got, I think, like £1,000 worth of investment, and that one guy actually Facebooked messaged me as well to say, oh, by the way, Kev, thank you so much for introducing me to Laura Owens. Amazing. I've got my paycheck coming in next week. I'm going to put down $1,000 of what you've done as well. And I was like, no, don't do it. I haven't done that. So I managed to stop him and a few others. But yeah, it's quite scary. But no, I'm back. I've got the real Kev Hawkin is my new Instagram account. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here to talk about something that's actually a little bit of a dilemma for me, actually. And I think Paul's probably going to be the one to really answer this question. So when I took over Jongleurs, the comedy club in May 2020, I took over the business as well. And I took over the business with everything it came with. So it came with a website, it came with all the all the accounts, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the full works. And one of the things it also came with was the website came with an ABS system, so an artist booking system. So it allowed us historically, since 1983, to be able to tap into every single celebrity that's ever done comedy through Jongleurs, who are now household names like Eddie Izzard and Omid Jalili and all those people, and find out what they've done, what shows they've done, how much they've been paid, what were their reports, and etc. etc. Now, that ABS system, including the website, has not really been updated. And I actually spoke to Matty Wilson about that, but it's never been updated. But what has happened is the guy that's running that system, I've been paying him on a monthly basis to go through his servers and for him to basically, as and when needed, to update the website, just make sure it's running smoothly, and etc. etc. Problem is, it's costing me an arm and a leg. massively. And what I want to do is I want to bring that in-house. And what I mean by that is I'm putting it out to a few developers already, the website, and just, putting it out there, seeing what people can come back with, a better user-friendly interface, etc. And I'm also asking them to develop a new artist booking system, because it's so advanced, the one I've got. We hardly use, I think we use about 30% of it. So what I was, and you can't update it, by the way. So I can't actually update it onto a new app system. So developing an app, I've got to have a new system. I can't do it with the one he's got because it's very unique. And he's kind of given me the spiel about how you can't actually update that particular software. So I'm like, oh God, I need to do something. I need to do something with this. But my dilemma is, with all that kind of updating and getting a new website, a new interface, etc., is the server that I'm currently going through, which is his, is costing me nearly £1,000 a month. And I'm a bit like, nah, that's too much. And it's a bit silly. I think he's taking me for a ride. So my question now is, what servers do I look at getting for a small business, and where do I run it from? How do I do it? And then how do I give him access to still run my website through my server, so that I'm not paying him the extortionate amounts of money that I'm paying him at the moment? And I'm just a bit confused with all that, I'll be honest with you. And I just thought I'd put it out there to everyone, particularly you three, and see if we can come back with anything. So that'll be my question.
Awesome stuff. That is a great question. That is a great question for Paul. Unfortunately, Paul was not in the he was not in the building because he's gone downstairs to get our guest. We've got a server question. Quick, come on, Paul's. This is what you do your PT for. So Kev is basically he's got a web developer and a guy that's basically run his. He's got a server. The guy's charging him £1,000 a month for the server. He's thinking he needs to move the server, but the server's got his hosts an old artist booking system which he's using to book all of his artists and acts. So where should he go for a server? Should it be costing him £1,000? Help him out. Rob's in the studio, by the way.
No, it shouldn't.
No, it shouldn't. Hang on. Take your seat back. Yeah, okay. No, it shouldn't cost you that. Can he voice note you? He's going to voice note you. So Paul is going to personally coach you through this process. You can ring him. Paul will pop you a voice note.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
In the meantime, has anybody else got experience with regards to servers and that kind of stuff? Because I know we've got some people on stage who've, it's not just Paul that can answer any technical questions. So anyone who's been through this process of moving onto a different server, or I know AWS offer a lot of server facilities. I guess it's how you transition from your current guy that's going to be the biggest challenge. But yeah, anyone on stage, feel free to flash your mics if you've been through that process, if you've moved from one server to another. No. I tell you what, the other thing that you might want to look at, mate, is if it's at that kind of a cost. And obviously, I don't take this as verbatim, but there'll be, there's a lot of other alternative CRM systems, and what you've probably got based on how long Jongler's been around, because it's a much loved heritage brand, but chances are that you've probably got a really old system that is requiring a server. There's things like HubSpot, for example, which will sit on, which is like third-party software. What I'm saying is you've probably got like an old system that's sat on old tech that requires an element of server usage that a new one wouldn't. Like Salesforce, for example. I was with a guy yesterday, and he ran £100 million a year business via Salesforce, all remotely, all in the cloud. And I doubt that, obviously he would have had backups and all that kind of stuff as of his own data somewhere. But really, he was driving it all through that. Even things like, for example, with HubSpot would be one, Salesforce would be another one. There's lots that also then integrate into mailing software as well. So I think you're probably in a situation you're going to have to go through some temporary pain for long-term pleasure, because you've probably got an older system sat on which it requires that server that you just needed 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but you just don't now. So, but I'll get Paul to touch base with you and reach out to you directly, mate, and see if we can help you.
Cheers, James.
I say help. See if we can help you. I'm offering out Paul's services for free, basically. I'm going to see. I commit Paul's time to helping you resolve this problem, Kev. And by hook or by crook, we will get you there. And let it be said that Paul will not rest until Kev is satisfied. That's my promise to you.
Thank you, James. Listen, I honestly appreciate that.
Kev, just say to Paul, I don't think you could do it.
Yeah. Oh, he hates that. He hates that. Yeah, I'll do it. He's not even in the room. I was going to say, do you know what? Don't bother reaching out to Kevin. It's probably a bit too technical, mate. Yeah, that's what I do. He will message you by, if we finish at 9 o'clock, he'll message you by 9:03. Guarantee it. He'll be on the phone to you.
Yeah, no, it'd be a bit too technical for him, wouldn't it, James?
Yeah, I don't know if Paul could do it. He just walked back in the room. I don't know if Paul's got the minerals, frankly, to do it, but we'll see. Anyway, so right, hopefully, Kev, we'll touch base with you directly and help you out with that one. Has anybody else got a small business challenge? We have got the small business workshop is on this morning. I'm sorry, our guest has just walked into the building, hence the background noise and the excitement in the studio. So if you have got a small business question, please feel free to ask. I've had a random one in the back channel from Lauren. Lauren's asked, how do you reduce your profits? What on earth are you thinking, Lauren? Are you thinking from a tax perspective? Is that what we're talking about here? Is she there? No, she's not there either.
I am here.
Oh, good morning. Hello. What are you thinking reducing your profits? Are we talking purely tax?
Well, yeah, because all people talk about is, how much money can we make? But actually, when it comes down to it, with a small business, what we actually want to do is we want to be able to know how we can best reduce our profits for paying out taxes. Yeah.
Didn't bring my Clubhouse. Sorry, I will join, of course.
Am I supposed to be speaking? Sorry,
You didn't catch the question because you had your headphones off, did you?
Did you catch the question?
No.
Was it how to reduce profit? So how could you reinvest your profits to reduce your tax, basically?
Spend a shitload of money.
buy a studio, buy £300 arms every week.
Sorry, Lauren. I'm listening now, fully intent listening. The headphones are on. Go for your question again. Sorry, we got somebody. Our guest has arrived and he's come in and disrupted everybody.
Oh, very on brand. Very on brand.
Do you have a disruptive guest?
Yeah.
He used to be disruptive. He's now just a disruptor.
I'm not just a boring old fucker.
Don't speak about yourself like that. That's not very kind. Okay, so the question was, I think it's really important, as a conversation as well, to understand that when we're building businesses, how we actually reduce our profit line, because that ultimately is going to give us personally more and less to the tax man. So we all talk about, how much can we make? But, what can we do to reduce our profit margins to mean we pay less?
Ambient music in the background. I like that. Like went a bit otherworldly.
I just bought a Tesla.
That reduced the profits, didn't it?
I can jump in on this one and get myself into trouble straight away.
Here we go. Start zooming to go
There
on.
he goes.
Yeah. Well, it depends on your outcome, because actually reducing the profit is the worst thing to do if you want to sell the business sometime in the future. If you want to sell the business in the next 3 years, you actually need to show an increasing profit. So assuming you don't want to do that and you want to run a lifestyle business. So a lifestyle business is where you're running it to have the maximum lifestyle benefit as opposed to some other corporate gain. So if you want to sell or you want to sell parts, and don't forget, when you reduce your profits down, people can see that in Company's House. So whatever brand you're projecting, and then they go on Company's House and you made 14 pence profit last year, that has an impact as well. So it's a really good question, but it's important to stress it depends. Because for years, Mark and I worked all the profit out of the business. My business partner, Mark, and I, it's actually our 15th anniversary of our training company 2 or 3 days ago, which is, I don't think many companies don't last 15 years, I don't think. So that's something we should probably celebrate. So I might go to bed at 9 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. tonight to celebrate.
Got it all out.
But for years, we showed no profit, and we had hundreds of properties, and some people would be like, well, you got hundreds of fucking properties, but you're making any profit. But they didn't realise we had about 6 different entities and, what we were trying to do. I've just paid, I'm paying my biggest tax bill in the next few days ever. I've paid more than £1 million in tax in the last 3 months. That freaking hurts, but it's going to look good on the balance sheet and the profit and loss and when we file the accounts. So That being said, hopefully you get the context. Working your profit down obviously saves tax, and the ways I would do that is, one, you could consider having an LLP, because an LLP, you can run your home office through the company. So, for example, we're in this studio here. This could be run down through an LLP. You probably spent a good 30 grand, I'm guessing, or more. These chin-up bars must have cost a lot of money up there. Those plants look real as well.
Don't try and do chin-ups. They're put up with plasterboard squares.
So, you can offset a lot of the hardware, a studio for your podcast and your show. I mean, everyone has a studio now who's a content creator. So all your phones, your computers and everything are all a business expense. In an LLP, that's the one main benefit, is running the home office down. And then also cars. So you can have one car per partner in an LLP. So we now have 5 partners in our company. So we basically, the partners in the company isn't driven by the fiduciary business strategy. It's how many fucking cars do we want to own? So
making you a partner, is that a big thing? No, I want another car.
Yeah. So we've got a Lamborghini Aventador, a Ferrari Testarossa, a Porsche Panamera Turbo S, a Range Rover and a Porsche 911, all running down, all on the balance sheet. And, the depreciation on the Lamborghini is pretty severe. So obviously we're working out hundreds of thousands of pounds of profit down, because you kind of get two-way benefit on this. Number one, you run the cost through. Number two, you run the depreciation down. But number three, you don't have to buy it with tax paid money, because at the moment I get charged 25% corp, 45% income. I mean, it's theft. It's theft. It's outrageous at the moment. So I'm paying pretty much 60% on the nose straight away to draw any money down. And then if I take dividends, that's going up as well. So if I wanted to buy a 500 grand Lamborghini, I've got to earn 1.2 mil just to buy it when you pay after tax. Whereas if you pay through the company, you're not paying after tax. So, by the way, get advice from your accountant. Hashtag just fucking say. But so they're two big advantages of an LLP. So that's why we have one LLP. The next thing is, you've got to look at your whole life and go, what is and can be a business expense, and then figure out how to adjust your purchasing accordingly. So I shop at McQueen, and I know the guys really well there, and people like Graham Norton and Tom Jones, they buy their attire through McQueen, through a company, or the BBC buy them for their wardrobe. So I'm trying to be like, look, I'm Rob Moore. So can I just buy all my McQueen in for my wardrobe? So, but if there's a duality of purpose, you can't offset it. But if there is not a duality of purpose, so if I buy McQueen and I only wear McQueen on my brand, and I hang my McQueen clothes in a wardrobe in an office, I could probably run it through. If there's duality of purpose, i.e. I could wear it personally, then I can't, and they'll just hit me with benefit in kind tax. So anything like travel, like if you ever go on holiday, make sure it's a business trip. Go and do some business excursions. Go and interview a few people for your podcast. Go and do a buying trip. Don't put your kids through the business, because, going out, ice cream on the bills. Or you can eat kids buffet, because that'll red flag to the inland revenue. But by the way, everything I'm telling you is not anything you can't do. Otherwise, obviously, I wouldn't say it on a show. It's stuff you can do. But most things you can run through. I've got watches on my balance sheet. So I had watches, had a 79 Daytona, a few APs, and I sold them to my company. And they're on the balance sheet of the company as an asset. And then I was obviously able to receive the money. So there's lots of different ways you can run your company as a lifestyle. Always, basically, you want an accountant to say, yes, I would write an email to confirm this, i.e. there's some kind of comeback, or at least the accountant advising you, they're prepared to put their head on the chopping block and say that this is a legitimate business expense. So anytime I go to London, it's always to meet a podcast guest or something like that. So then the train down is the trip, the food is the trip, instead of making a separate trip. If I go on a weekend with my wife or whatever, I'll make sure that I'm going to do business meetings. And that's what it's for. And she just happens to be there. So I hope that helps.
What a romantic.
I know. There's the point on, though, you've got to, what's it for about the
what's the
profits.
outcome of it, yeah.
I'll give you an example. We've here in this building for years, we had directors' loans, money that we'd introduced to the company that paid for refurbishment, and we was happy to leave them sitting as directors' loans. But what that done is it gave you a net loss every single year. So we acquired losses year on year on year, which we knew what we was doing, and we was happy to do that, and it served a purpose. But then COVID hits, and we want to all of a sudden apply for a COVID business interruption loan, and we've now got these directors' loans that are showing us have generated losses or showing us losses, and the banks didn't like it. We couldn't get we had perfectly good turnover. We had, affordability wasn't a problem, but they didn't like the incurred losses over time.
The banks, that's another really good point. If you want to get any finance.
Yeah. And we a perfectly stable business that had no issues in taking that loan and paying the loan back. But because of the incurred losses over 4 or 5 years, which was strategically done for a purpose, didn't like it.
Yeah.
So, it's...
Start with the end in mind is always good advice, isn't it?
With every upside, there's a downside.
Absolutely.
Yes, there is.
Very deep. Should we have a fancy jingle reset?
And then we'll introduce the man that just answered the question.
Indeed. Let's come back after the jingle.
You are listening to Breakfast with Winners, exclusive content, direct from the Winners Club. If you are enjoying the conversation, click on the green Monopoly house at the top of the screen right now and join the thousands of winners already in our community. For even more actionable content and powerful lessons, download the free companion app now. Just search for the Winners Club in the App Store or Google Play. For more information about the Winners Club and how to become part of our growing community, head to thewinnersclub.club. Now, back to the show.
So we are back. Good morning, everybody. Welcome along to Breakfast with Winners. You are joining us live in the studio this morning for Growing Your Business special. And we've also got a special guest, ladies and gentlemen. He is the Alexander McQueen disruptor that we all know and love. Rob Moore's here, everybody. He's interrupting the studio as well. Because
because I'm an amateur, that's why.
Normally people get really told off. You must be.
I'm in the room. I'm in the house.
Definitely in the room. Normally Paul gets really annoyed, but Ashley's been sacked before for this, and then he's had to be fully reinstated.
What am I doing? Am I doing something wrong here?
It's because you're getting a feedback loop from your phone. It's all good. We'll sort it in 2 seconds. There you go.
Is that done?
There you go. Is that all right? God, that's the lightest anybody's
I've only been on Clubhouse a year. Such a twat.
So, Rob Moore is here in the building. So, 15 years, a couple of days ago, that you and Mark have been...
Progressive Property was formed 15 years ago, 2 or 3 days. Yeah.
Wow. Did you celebrate it at all?
I sent Mark a nice voice memo. This is so fun.
Did you get one back?
Mark, right?
Did you get one back?
You're going to love this. This is so Mark. I walked down Peterborough High Street where our old offices used to be, and I sent Mark a voice memo saying, look, it's 15 years. He didn't know. And I said, remember this and remember this and remember this and some of the shenanigans we got up to. And he voice memoed me back going, yeah, thanks, Rob. What I'll do is I'll tell you every one of our competitors that's gone bust or in prison over the last 15 years because I keep an Evernote folder on it. So he literally listed every competitor that's either in prison or gone bust or some kind of crazy shit or had a breakdown. And then at the end he said, so I think we've done all right.
I'm really intrigued by that because obviously you and Mark, the famous story goes that you are sort of this struggling artist who hates commercialism. You ought to be like, no one understands you, man. And then you end up weirdly in a Holiday Inn in Peterborough, and you meet this guy stood at a bar, and it happens to be Mark Homer, who then became your business partner. Obviously, 15 years, a decade and a half, sorry to date you, is a long time, and people change in a long time. What's been the biggest evolution of your relationship with Mark? Because to start with, when you guys first came out, it was Rob and Mark, the stripy shirt guys, and everyone in the property industry, all of the ones who are in beige rooms going, oh, I don't know what these two are doing. Do you ever see? He's got a Ferrari. It's absolutely outrageous. You know, these guys are actually proactively talking about money. It doesn't make any sense. You and Mark were very much the double frontmen. Probably you more willingly than Mark, frankly, and then everyone's kind of found their flow, I guess, in that partnership. What's the biggest change that you guys have been through personally? Because obviously Mark is now very much behind the scenes pulling strings rather than being front and centre, which was something that he was always quite honest about not really being that comfortable doing, or not being that willing a volunteer. What's the biggest change in that relationship?
Probably the biggest change is we can now grow a beard. So that's definitely right up there, because back then I don't even know if we could. So I think if you want to scale a business partnership over decades, you have to learn to appreciate your business partner for who they are rather than trying to change them to be more like you. And this is not the easiest thing in the world to do, because we all have our own vision. But ultimately, what most people are trying to do all day, every day, is get people to agree with them and try and change them to be more like them or behave how they want. And we don't know we're doing it, but we're doing it. We're doing it on our relationships. We're doing it with our children. You know, we're doing it in our business partnerships. And I learned fairly quickly that Mark was never going to go for that, because like people think I'm the rebel and I'm the disruptor. But I mean, he got expelled from school at 16. He will absolutely, you can't get him to do anything he doesn't want to do. He will just have none of it. And whereas he can always get me to do what he wants me to do, he's always got some bribe there ready for me. Or, you know, he's just got some compelling way of getting me to do something. But Mark's the most rebellious person you'll ever meet. You just don't know it, because he doesn't go around telling everyone. So I figured 6-12 months in, you know, because I did Tony Robbins, I'm trying to get Mark to be positive. I'm trying to get him to go to personal development seminars and hug people. And it's like, this is just never going to happen. Just keep him in the corner, let him deal with the banks and the money. He's happy doing that. And so we figured, let's stop duplicating roles. Let's stop trying to change each other. Let's accept each other for who we are, because we're in partnership because we're different. We've got different skills. That works. Let's actually properly do that.
How long did it take you to work that out?
I reckon 6 months, which is actually quite quick.
Yeah.
Because you can be 2, 3, 5 years in. I mean, you know, your chicken drumstick fight that you sound like you had in here, which... did you get it on those cameras?
No, we were in the other room, luckily.
I think we have meetings in here now, just so there's
So
evidence.
it's always on record.
Yeah. So the way you develop a partnership over the years is you find each other's strengths and weaknesses, you plug in the gaps, you support each other, you don't try and change each other, and also you know your role and you do your best to deliver your role. So, you know, Mark became back of house quite quickly because it wasn't his ideal role. I went to front of house quite quickly because it was more my ideal role. I mean, Mark even has to check he still signs my expenses off and checks them and goes, well, Rob, I think that's a double claim there, and I think we'll give you this pocket money this month. And, I still have to get paid by Mark, because I'm fucking out. And then the next thing is you've both got to have, I think, a long-term vision. So, you know, Mark and I have enjoyed quite a lot of challenge over the years, as you do. And if we didn't have a long-term vision for wanting to be in business, then it wouldn't be worth it. So long-term vision, different roles and responsibilities, respecting and honouring your partner for their strengths, letting them be them, letting you be you, not trying to change them. And then what you've got is this, because one of the reasons Progressive we became the biggest training company in the UK by turnover within 7 years of starting, which is, you know, quite a feat. And our little secret to success is there was 2 of us, not 1, and we were doing different things. So we were, like, for example, a lot of the training businesses in property, the founders don't really have much property. And then those that have a load of property can't really run a training business because they're 2 separate things. And like, if there was just me, I wouldn't be able to do both. And if there was just Mark, he wouldn't be able to do both. But, you know, he's just finished our 99 apartment block, 130,000 square foot, so about the same size as what Paul owns here, so it's pretty big. And he focused 97% of his time on that. And I just was there as a sounding board every now and again. Do we sell or do we keep? Do we go with this lender or that lender? Yada, yada. And then for the training business, he just comes in and checks the books and the accounts. And, if things are going slow, he puts all the invoices in his drawer and locks it. And if things are going good, he gets out of the way. Mark's the sort of guy where you don't see him if things are going well. But if he's in the office, there's some shit happening. And our MD is like, Marco's only ever interested when things are going badly. But I'm like, but yeah, that's good. Because, if there's too many invoices or the Google AdWords spend is too much or the credit cards are melting or there's a legal case or whatever, you don't need to know that there is one. You just see Mark in his office. Okay. But that's all he does. So having those... Which is why I was really interested in your discussion stroke food fight or whatever. Because I guess a part of that would have been projecting on each other the vision and values of what you're building. And then, maybe sometimes an overlap of what you do. And you shouldn't have, you want minimum overlap.
What's been... Because obviously, like I say, you've endured some challenges. Not only, most businesses would go through challenges in 15 years.
Every single business will go through challenges.
But especially one that's linked to property. Because you mentioned you started 15 years ago, so 2007. Within about 18 months, we go through the biggest sort of property-driven financial crisis of, certainly our generation at that point, pre, the flu and all that stuff. What's been the...
that was a loaded statement on your thoughts of COVID.
Yes. Don't be too disruptive here. But what's been the biggest change that you've had to personally make yourself as you've grown as a substantial business? Because, you guys started it, met the Holiday Inn, both your mums worked off the dining room table to start with, and now you've got, hundreds of property, or nearly touching on 1,000 properties, hundreds of staff, multiple businesses. You have to grow and develop into somebody else. So who have you guys had to become? Or who have you, because you can't speak for Mark, I guess, but who have you had to become as a leader? And who have you looked to for the advice and the guidance? Because I remember back in the day, like early, when I first got into property, I was like, oh, this is genius. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was like, everybody else doesn't know the secret, but now I do. Here I go.
Except 25 million people have read that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But I thought no one's doing this stuff. Oh, I'm going to be a genius. I remember sitting in one of those, in one of like the early seminars, and you were doing like public speaking. You were saying how much you'd invested into going abroad and speaking. I was like, Jesus Christ, he's lumping in this sort of money for it. But who have you had to become to grow, to be the runner of a big business and the owner of a big business, and who is the sort of, who do you look to for advice and guidance to take you on that path?
Okay, there's a few things that business has taught me. So whilst I invested in myself to learn how to run a business, business has also taught me what I needed to know to be a business owner. So being in business is the greatest teacher. So this is my lesson, but we're all different. But we've all got to get our own version of this lesson. And that is whatever weaknesses we may have that hold us back from being an entrepreneur, a business owner, and a leader. So my main weakness was I was a people pleaser because I was the fattest kid in my school, age 11 to 13. And the only way I learned to cope with what I felt like was emotional and mental torture, a lot of it was in my head, was to be the guy that everyone liked. So, at school, do you remember, you had the people that were into the sort of rap music. In my era, they were into either Snoop Dogg or Cypress Hill. And then you had Nirvana, Rage Against the Machine guys. Then you had the sporty kids, the cool kids. And I was pretty much the only guy in school that got on with everyone because I learned to get on with everyone so that I wouldn't be ridiculed. Because I was, I was the fattest kid in school. The thing is, when you're the second fattest kid in school, you don't really get any of the shit. Well, Rob's the fatter than me, so so
take all the heat for all the fat kids.
Yeah, exactly. So, so basically, I developed this aversion to conflict, And I suppose you could say, well, it meant I was pretty good at connecting and building rapport with people. Yeah, but I didn't know who I was because I'd always morphed to be who you wanted me to be so I could be accepted. So I had no idea who I was, especially when I lost all the weight, but I still had all the baggage. So I was very lost as a person, and I could not handle conflict at all. And I would just run away from it and bottle it and suppress it. Now, other people have the opposite problem, where they enjoy conflict too much or they can't handle their
Always
emotions.
looking for a fight, yeah.
Yeah, or they just lose their shit all the time or whatever. So I'm only telling you, the biggest lesson because you asked, but everyone's got their own version. So I had to learn conflict. I had to learn to face conflict. I had to learn to face my fears. I had to learn to make strong and hard decisions. Letting people go, firing people is something that a lot of people just can't do, and I couldn't do. And, you either hire someone who can fire people, but I also didn't want to shirk that, so I had to embrace that. I had to embrace having haters. So I wasn't used to really anyone disliking me because I could morph myself into making you like me. But, as I'm like, wow, I'm a business owner, I'm supposed to have a personality, be someone. I don't know who I am. So in the discovery of who I am, all of a sudden people start to hate me for who I am. And my instinct is to be like, oh, I'm not really like that. We're cool. And I had to go through that barrier. I saw Zlatan being interviewed. I'm trying to get him for my show. And he says, everyone makes mistakes. So you might as well be yourself making the mistake. And, everyone says be yourself. But I just like the way you framed it, that we're all going to make mistakes. So the best way to make a mistake is being your authentic self. And I agree with that. And you're going to be loved and loathed. You're going to have fans and haters. Paul just said earlier, every upside has a downside. So my biggest lesson is confronting conflict and challenge and accepting criticism and ridicule in the pursuit of really understanding who I am. That's mine. And that's some deep shit. I've spent millions of pounds on personal development and therapy trying to figure out.
It's strange, isn't it? Because your whole brand now is obviously almost the counter position of that. You sort of, not that you call it on, but it's literally, the podcast was called The Disruptive Entrepreneur. It's rebranded as The Disruptor. And even when you guys started out, because I remember I was already in the sort of the property training space. I've been in a lot of like the vanilla rooms, and then all of a sudden these Larry geezers with the stripy shirts, and that became like a thing. If you're a progressive trader, you were wearing the stripy shirts. But there was a lot of because I remember, because I was going to these other events, they'd be like, "You haven't been to one of their events, have you?" Well, them flash fuckers, all they care about is cars. I'm like, yeah, but they're standing out. I wouldn't know if you've got property or not. And I actually, because my marketing background, I actually give some advice to someone in the training space. I said, you need to take a leaf out of their book. So because they stand out, no one knows who you are. Everybody knows who they are, even if they don't like it. So when was the switch where you were like, I've got to embrace the discomfort to proactively go, do you know what, I'm going to build a brand on?
Yeah, well, there was
standing out.
I think because I was the fattest kid in school and I didn't get the attention I wanted, when I grew up, it was only a matter of time before I started getting that attention. So you could say that my entire brand for the last 15 years is just trying to get some fucking attention. But apparently attention is currency, so that's good. So it came naturally to me because it was part of me discovering who I am. But because I've got a creative side, because I was an artist, I did a lot of creative stuff at school, doing things different from everyone else, wanting to stand out and be different, understanding the power of being different and unique. For me, it's just a natural thing. Like, I want to dress different to everyone else. I want to, I want to have a brand that's different to everyone else. It was easy coming into the property space because everybody was sort of 40 plus male with a Marks and Spencer suit with the trousers too short, and a white shirt with an open neck. It was so easy. Just an Italian suit that was tight and some stripy shirts. It was just so easy.
Proper Larry shoes back in the day as well. I remember the Larry shoes.
Yeah, cowboy boots or pointy shoes and all of that. That I was still finding my style. So I got a really long message from someone on Clubhouse telling me that I don't wear a suit and it's really bad. You know, and people say that
Really?
never trust anyone who wears a jacket with a T-shirt and all of this. But like, if I have to put a suit on that I can't wear because I'm not comfortable wearing it, I would argue that's me trying to project someone I'm not. So finding your own style, finding your own brand, finding your own voice, you'll make mistakes, but it's authentically you, is a pursuit every business owner and personal brand should build and develop. And ideally, it's unique and a reflection of you. It will be unique if it's a reflection of you because you're unique, but you've just got to embrace that and really own that. So for me, that was a natural part of, so I nearly said coming out of myself, but, you know, a natural part of discovering myself. And then I just quickly figured out when you're different, everyone talks about you. And then, of course, I had to face the ridicule of everyone talking about me. Because, you know, you saying there that people used to go to events and talk badly of us, I kind of like, there was a little Dr. Evil laugh of pleasure inside myself when you said that. But 10 years ago, that had really upset me.
Yeah.
So I've learned that that's a good thing, because attention is vital now. There are a lot of people out there doing the thing. How do you get remembered?
When you got those, because you get some like abuse, don't you?
I fucking love it. I love it. If anyone's got any spare haters, chuck them my way. I need more.
Actually got loads.
Are you cold?
Freezing in here, man.
I've just turned it off. It was a bit hot. Okay.
Need to find happy medium.
When you first got that 10 years ago, did that take a lot? Was you like fuming and
I wasn't fuming. I was
Upset,
hurt. Hurt. Like some people, their reaction is to fight back, and I admire those people because mine would be to run and hide. It always was. The amount of times I cried myself to sleep at weekends, boarding at school when I wanted to be at home. So it was always retreat, delete, hide away, never do that again. So I had to teach myself that, I was taught by John DeMartini that you cannot have, fans without haters. You cannot have, admirers without loathers. Every upside has a downside. And I think a lot of reading helps. So I did a lot of study, and I studied all the successful people. I mean, Steve Jobs was hated, and look at what he did. Donald Trump is hated. Like, I love it when you just say the words Donald Trump and people get triggered. Made billions, yeah, but got a lot of it off his dad. So, do you know it's actually harder to manage second-generation wealth than it is to build first-generation wealth? People don't get that. You go and be president then. Good luck. So, but Donald Trump clearly doesn't give a fuck that he has 100 million haters. And if he does, he hides it pretty well. I don't know if he goes and cries on Melania's chest at night. They hate me. I think he loves it. And that is an admirable trait. Now, if you don't want to make any difference, you don't have to worry about that. But every single successful person you've ever met or studied, they have to embrace haters. It's just the game. So it just makes me chuckle now. I want to cut off Rob Moore's head and boil it in a vat of piss in front of him. That was one of them.
I'm really sorry. I've changed my opinion of you since then. I'm really sorry.
Rob Moore is what's known as a dick rider. Dick riding isn't an official sport, but were dick riding an official sport, Rob Moore would certainly be the first to hop on for a ride.
I love the effort.
I mean, my haters are poetic. Yeah, I've got some great haters.
Very artistic.
Yeah, I mean, some of them need to up their game. But, so, why does someone who doesn't know me, why should their angriness or their hurt in their life or their hatred, why should that affect me? This just doesn't have any bearing or impact. But here's the other thing I've worked out. My most viral posts have the most hate on it. So you could say the formula for virality is more hate. So just,
Bear that in mind. What was the first step that you took? Because obviously you've mentioned now, you're quite open and honest with, going to therapy and spending a lot of money on your personal development and sort of understanding yourself. What was that first? Because like I say, the sort of the internal dialogue of the fat kid, it had to change at some point. There had to be a moment, or there's like a gradual changing of your opinion. What was the first step that you took? You like, people pleasing is what I've always done, but it's not going to serve me moving forwards. What was the first? Did you pick up a book, or did you go to a seminar? Or did you listen to something? What was the first thing you like? I need to make a change here, and this is my proactive first step. I'm going to read X. Or I'm going to listen to X. Or does it happen more gradually than that?
Yeah, it did for me. It happened gradually because all of a sudden I'm running a business and I've got to deal with these conflicts, and if I don't, I lose money. The great thing about business is the cost of not making those hard decisions is you lose money. In your personal life, the cost of not having that conflict is just relationships sort of drift away, or a relationship doesn't work out, or whatever. Like, I've never dumped anyone face to face, ever. I had never had the courage. It was always a text message.
Oh, you're a text dumper.
Or a ghosting. And it's not because that's my vibe. It's because I was too weak to look someone in the eye and say it's not working out.
Yeah.
So I spent 25 years of my life just always hiding and avoiding conflict. In business, if you avoid conflict, you lose money. So I'm like, I've got to face this and deal with this. And it's sort of scary and hard at first. And then, like anything that's scary and hard at first, then you realise that wasn't that bad. I had to fire that person. That wasn't that bad. Remember the first person I had to fire? And I was so scared of doing it, so scared. And I stayed up all night for about 3 days knowing I had to do it. And I went in, I didn't know what to say to this guy. And he was quite confrontational. And in the end, I just sort of said, I don't think this is working out. Because I didn't know what to say. And he said, yeah, you're right. It's not working out. I've been thinking that too. I think I'm going to resign. And I was like, fuck, I worried about all that for nothing.
Yes.
And actually, that's quite a good play now. If you want to fire someone, that's a good place to start because they might resign. So you don't...
Makes life a lot easier from an HR perspective.
I don't think things are working out. Yeah. So, and then you just... Over time, if you face challenge, you build a resilience and you build a thicker skin. So it was definitely progressive for me. I mean, and things like, the books, The Courage to be Disliked, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. These are good books which give you the good theory on it. But really, to overcome your challenges, the only way is to face them. I saw a brilliant quote. Pain disappears when it's taught you the lesson.
Oh, that's good.
Pain disappears when it's taught you the lesson. So anything that you're struggling with or is challenging you or is hard, you cannot run away from it. You cannot hide it. I ran away from conflict for 20 odd years, but it never goes away. It just keeps manifesting in a new form. Do you want a Clubhouse 101, mate?
I'm not even looking up.
It's me who did that at the start.
We throw something at him in a minute, Rob. And that self-awareness to realise that many business owners don't realise that until they've had a shock or a loss or a big loss or something's happened. To have that self-awareness to realise I need to make a change and make the change. Many of us don't work. I didn't work that out until I walked home one day and my wife had left. And then I was like, which that it was right. Okay, I need to make a change, and that's when I went down the journey of personal development after finding out I was an idiot. Everybody else knew I was an idiot for 2 years.
I would have known that straight away.
So,
yeah,
it's like you can tell when someone's been humbled. That's like something you can tell that they've had a life-changing movement that makes you go down there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, really, it's only pain that creates change, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. So there's two ways to leverage pain to create change. One, it happens to you. Like one day you wake up and your wife's left you, or a load of your staff have left and set up in competition or whatever. Or you can face those pains early and deal with them. Because, to use your example, Paul, of course, it wasn't just that one day you walked back and your wife had gone, oh, that was a surprise. I thought everything was awesome. There would have been some signs there.
Yeah, of course.
And you may have not confronted them. And here's the thing as well. like, I'm still working on this. I'm way better at conflict, way better. But it still haunts me that there's things that happen that I'd rather just not face. So you can either wait until something external happens. The biggest thing for me was my dad had a massive nervous breakdown December the 15th, 2005. And that was a culmination of 25 years of me really just not facing my fears and living to my full potential, I suppose. But what I try and do is face them myself. Like, if you sit down and look at your business and you sit down and you look at your life, you know what's right and what's wrong, and you know what you've got to deal with. So what I try and do is go, okay, what have I got to deal with? And try and face it early and get it done, ideally before 8 a.m., 6 a.m. maybe, whatever else. Those things you're putting off. So lockdown was pretty good for us in many ways. I didn't really talk about it because I wanted to be respectful to everyone. But I knew coming out of lockdown, there was some of my team, they were done. Lockdown just wiped them out. They were mentally done. And they're people that have been with me 10 years plus. And I really admired and respected them for what they'd done for me, but I knew they were done and I knew I had to move them on. I didn't want to move someone on that's been with me 10 years, but I knew what had to be done and I knew I had to do it. So I got it done. And I knew as well, by the way, you know that thing that's really hard to do? In the short term, it's going to be a fucking mess. So not only is it hard, but you know it's going to get harder before it gets easier. Yep. So I had to lose 3 of my senior team. And in a company that has 85-ish staff and there's maybe only 10 in the senior team, losing 30% of your senior team. And one of them, he was our main pay-per-click guy. So I knew my senior team was going to be completely rocked. I knew our lead flow was going to dry up. But I knew it had to be done. Got it done. It was a few months of mess. And now we're in so much stronger a position for it. So you can either wait for someone to screw you over, or you can go and face that challenge. And everyone listening right now, you know what those things are. If it's your marriage, your relationship with your children, your business, the thing you're putting off, the thing you're not doing, the thing you've been saying you're going to do for 10 years plus or whatever, just go and do it. Just go and face it. I wrote a book called Start Now, Get Perfect Later, which basically just tells you how to do what you know to do, but not waiting until all the ducks are in a row or, you know, like, for example, if you want to let someone go, the best thing to do is walk in the morning in the office and say, hey, James, can we have a quick chat? Sit down and say, there's no easy way of saying this, but I need to let you go. That's it. You don't start a conversation or wait until 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. You just go in and you get it done. And my business partner's great at that. When there's my business partner, when everything's going well, he's kind of not the most useful guy. He doesn't really know what to do when everything's going well. It's like, oh, okay, I won't touch anything because it's going well.
Leave it be. Just leave it be.
Yeah. But man, when there's a crisis, I've never met anyone as good as him. When there's a crisis, fucking hell, he's really good. And he just gets it done.
There you go then. So Ash, I'd like to talk to you at 9:01, okay, when we're finished in the studio today, okay? I need to have a chat. I'm going to take you for a chicken
imagination. I think
I'm no longer working
it's not
for
working out. I agree.
See you later, mate. Absolutely. There's the door, James.
Cheers. Cheers for coming. Get your coat on the way out.
I think you've had about 5 written warnings so far.
It wouldn't be the worst place I've had written warnings for, to be brutally honest, but there we go. I'm intrigued by the journey that you went on to sort of change your brand, because I've watched the evolution as a customer and a client of Progressive.
Jake Paul this Friday. I've got Jake Paul.
Have you
Friday.
really?
Yeah. I wasn't going to announce. You're the only people that know. I haven't told anyone. I didn't want to jinx it.
He was like a coiled spring. The first words he said as he come through the door.
Yeah, because I can't ever hold anything in. That's one of my strengths, stroke weaknesses equally.
That is mega.
Jake Paul, second biggest YouTuber in the world, on Friday, 8 p.m. Don't tell anyone, by the way. I haven't told anyone else.
Keep it secret. There's only 212 people.
That's all right. They won't tell anyone.
Shh, keep it a secret, guys. So that when you, I'm going to come back to that.
Do you reckon that's your biggest guest?
Of course it is. I mean,
bigger than Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got more reach.
It's reach.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So,
Yeah.
like, is he the most famous person I've ever interviewed? No. Is he the richest person I've ever interviewed? No. Has he got... I mean, he's got to be in the top... Well, he's the second biggest YouTuber in the world.
How many subscribers has he got? Like,
I don't know, but he made
million?
40-odd million on YouTube. Yeah.
How have you landed it? Is it NFT stuff you're talking about? Because he's gone hard into that space, isn't he?
Oh, well, all drive down here. I was working on the questions with him because my team have gone and done a load of research. We've got like 62 questions, and I can probably get 25 in if I do a couple of quick fires. So I was working on that all the way down. Jake Paul. I mean, he's must have top 5 biggest reach in the world. I mean, he's second only to Mr. Beast on YouTube.
18 million on Insta.
18 million.
Yeah. He can have a fight as well, Jake Paul. I know everyone like mocked him when he got into that like white collar stuff. He can have a tear up, that guy, can't he? Have you watched his fights?
Yeah.
He banged out the UFC guy, like banged him out.
Oh, that was a dive.
Yeah, that was the worst thing.
The punch was like this. He wound it up. It was the most telegraphed
it looked like wrestling. It was like wrestling.
We think fake?
Yeah.
He even pulled a sign. And
then the arm went down, and then he went for the punch. It was like...
Well, that was a good dive because he sort of got into rigor mortis as he fell down. It was a really good dive. That was a fucking dive.
That's...
Don't bring that up on Friday. Do not bring that up on Friday. So when you went on that transition, as I say, you've gone from sort of like successful property company to then sort of going into training of other stuff to then developing your own brand. Was there, because you didn't start out with a strong personal brand, because 2007, no one's talking about personal brand apart from probably Gary Vee. He'll probably put a video up of, look what I was saying in 2007. But realistically,
is that a camp Gary Vee you just did?
Yes, very camp Gary Vee, 2007. Did you have a concern when you started to grow your personal brand? Because you by this point you had something to lose. You were known as something in a certain space. You're known as something. You were in property, in personal development, in speaker training, and that kind of stuff. Was there a concern? You like, I could do myself a disservice here.
Right. So the journey of a personal brand, the big mistake I made is I spent too much time building progressive and not enough time building my personal brand. So Mark and I had a chat in 2007, and Mark basically sat me down and went, look, Rob, you're doing this coaching over here and you're doing this social media, which he thought was a load of bollocks, over there.
Still does.
Yeah. You should be spending all of your time in progressive property.
Right.
And he sort of had a point. And I said to him, yeah, but, you're off with your mates all weekend, setting up businesses with your sort of, your mates from private school. You should be putting all your time into progressive property. So we shook hands on a deal, which we've stuck by to this day, 15 years later, and we don't have a contract and we don't need one, which is Mark can do whatever he wants, but I own 50% of whatever he does. I can do whatever I want, but he owns 50% of what I do. And we decided that was the right deal because we wanted the ability to go and search out other ventures. And now we don't look over at each other's shoulder anymore. I don't look at Mark and go, what are you up to? What are you doing this weekend? Is that in progressive? And he doesn't look at me and go, oh, this personal brand, I'm writing books and all this content on social media. Because Mark, I wrote 18 books, Mark didn't. And he earns, in fact, I pretty much helped Mark write his books as well. He earns 50% on all the royalty, but he spent 97% of the time developing these 99 apartments. I didn't, and I own half. And we're both very happy with that deal. That deal works for us, and we both offer equal value. Actually, we were looking at the numbers today, and we probably bring in roughly similar amounts of revenue and profit in what we do. He sort of focused more on the lettings business, the property companies, me on the training business and the brand. And kind of like Mark would get a little bit of satisfaction if he pulled in a bit more money than me, and I would get a bit of satisfaction if I pulled a bit more money in than him. So there's kind of like a nice friendly competition there. So, but a big mistake I made was I parked my personal brand for 8 years to focus on building progressive. So, there's kids who aren't even 8 who are making millions on YouTube. You know, there's that Russian dancer and there's that kid Ryan who unboxes toys. Little fucker. 27 million quid unboxing toys. Little. What's my kid up to? My kid earns me fuck all.
And my kid wiped a boga at the sofa yesterday, and I said, "Did you just do that?" He went, "Yeah."
And they unbox toys all the time. And
Yeah,
they get paid for it.
exactly. So yeah, failed parents here. So that was a massive mistake not to focus on the personal brand, because in 2007 I got it and I wanted to get into it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did. I was on YouTube making property videos in 2008, and then I just sort of stopped all that to focus on progressive. And you could say, well, you know, you built a good company and you know that's done well for you. Yeah, you could argue that, but you know, my personal brand would be so much bigger if I'd focused on it. So that is one of my sort of more mild regrets. And so it was always going to be the case for me that I was going to evolve and build a personal brand, because I saw it in 2007. I knew the power of it. And here's the thing. Like, I'm friends with Gerald Ratner. And, you know, Gerald Ratner basically made a little joke about his jewellery.
God, yeah.
And the bank called in £500 million. And he went
pretty
from
much overnight, wasn't it? Like, he imploded.
Yeah, he went from earning 2.2 billion in a year in the 90s, which is, with inflation now is about 17 trillion. And I'm hyper aware that every day I could have a Gerald Ratner moment. I mean, I've said way more outrageous shit than Gerald.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to make sure that Rob's brand is like over there and his companies are like over there. So at the moment...
does Mark ever get onto you and go, I saw that,
all
and
the
he's
fucking
like,
time. Does he get Rob, delete that. You can't say that.
Does he get it though? Does he get the personal brand stuff?
He never really got it, but he can't deny it now because of what it's done for us, the revenue that it builds, etc. Also, I've interviewed some people and he's like, oh, so jealous. I'd love to. Like, he loves Nigel Farage, and I got Nigel Farage. He loves the billionaires that I've interviewed. So, but yeah, he gets it now. But definitely, the thing is as well, he has to clean up my mess. Because you remember, he's good. He's like Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction. You know, he just comes in, there's frickin' blood and skull everywhere. He's like, right, get out. Fuck off. I'm cleaning this up and you're paying me. And then I'm putting this in a brown envelope. Like, if Mark and I ever had some kind of financial disagreement, I'm fucked. You know, I'm coming out with the personal brand and he's coming out with all the assets and all the money. But so, yeah, currently right now, we're just doing a refinance. I think it's 12 million refinance. And it's backed by the government. And Mark's like, you know, Rob, all these rants you do, where you're taking shots at the government. You do know they're backing a £12 million loan for us, so can you just not say that? Can you just delete that video? And my first million view video was a rant about the amount of money that the government spent on the app. You know, the pingdemic.
Yeah.
So I go viral, more than 1 million views, and Mark's like, you need to delete that video. It's fuck. So basically, I just want to get this fucking 12 million loan in, and then I can say whatever I want. But here's the thing: we all talk about freedom of speech and all of that, and yeah, I think it's important to have that. But I also have a fiduciary duty to my companies. This is one of the reasons why we don't have a load of external financiers and board members and shareholders. Because every freaking board meeting, I'd be pulled in like a child in his, you know, his shorts and his shirt, with his peanutted tie, getting told off. Rob, you said this. Rob, you said that. So
they'll confiscate your phone in the end.
Yeah, they would. So my 6
all of them.
phones,
Yeah, all of them. Hand them all in.
I can imagine Mark sitting there, waking up in the morning, seeing a little Instagram live pop up. Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no! What is this?
What's his 7 tips today? What 7 disasters is he going to create for me today? How do you work on your? Sounds like a strange question. How do you work on your relationship with Mark? Because obviously it's very, very important, and you were. I guess you got into business before you really knew each other. It wasn't like you were like lifelong pals. You'd been, you know, worked in very different or moved in very different circles. So how do you? But you're, you know, best man at his wedding, and I think vice versa. And you live by near to each other. Do you take time to like just be pals, or is it always an undercurrent of hey, let's go and grab lunch?
We
Well,
should
let's talk
probably
about-
do that more. We are very good friends, but our friendship evolved over time and it needed to. Because when we were in business together, we'd also go out together, we'd socialise a lot together. And there came a time where that was probably quite intense.
Yeah.
And then he got his girlfriend and I got my girlfriend. And so then we sort of started to slightly separate socially. And then he got separate mates to me. We obviously had separate mates, but... So actually it was quite healthy for us because it was fun at the start. But like, for example, Mark wasn't a natural approacher of women. He's more of the wingman. He had the wallet. I had the mouth. So it's a good JV. Yeah. But I approached this group of girls and just started talking to them. And Mark's married to one of them now. As in, he's been married to Gemma. He's been with her for sort of a decade or more. And it makes me feel really good that, I sort of connected them up. But since he's married and had kids and I've married and had kids, our social life has sort of gone separate. And it's probably actually, honestly, gone slightly too far because we both make ourselves really busy because we like to. And I probably only see Mark 2 or 3 times a month other than in passing. And I think I should probably make that at least once a week. Yeah.
And because of the power of like I say, you both have different skill sets and different remits within the business. Is there a case that, I know, like you say, you've got to respect each other's skill sets and what each other brings to the party, but is there a part of you that's like, Mark, get on the personal brand thing a bit more?
No.
Because he's smart as, isn't he? I've read, some of his books are very, very well put together. Turns out you might have written them, so maybe maybe you're smarter than I thought. It turns out, like, Mark's the brains here, actually.
That's not fair, but I sat Mark down. When Mark writing a book is like a 2-year-old child, and I literally had to stop him every 10 seconds from getting up and walking out. And I had to bribe him with a trip to Sandy Lane in Barbados to actually just get the book written. And Mark, this trip's been 25 grand. We're not leaving until we've written this book. He can get that. He's like, oh shit, yeah, I get that. So no, with Mark, no. Remember, I don't. I've stopped trying to change Mark. I've stopped trying to change my wife. I've stopped trying to change my staff. If I have to change Mark, my wife, and my staff, I've got the wrong people.
Yeah.
So, and that is difficult because it makes us feel good when people agree with us. If you like my opinion, it makes me feel good and it makes me feel powerful and it makes me feel important. But, I challenge myself to be around people who don't necessarily agree with me or who are difficult, challenge me and make me feel uncomfortable. Like, my expense form going into Mark's office reminds me of when I was outside the headmaster's office at school about to get bollocked. Because I got bollocked. I was the kid that got bollocked all the time because I was the kid that always got caught because I was stupid. And I got caught, cheating in exams or whatever, which, by the way, makes you an entrepreneur. But I'm just like, I think, fucking hell, I'm fucking 43 and he's signing off my expenses. Like, I tried to put through £40 a month for the charging on my Panamera Turbo S, and Mark's like, we'll do that on next month's expenses. I'm like, it's only fucking £40 a month. Well, they did backdate it 4.5 years. So, coffees, I'm trying to put the coffees through. Mark's like, oh, let's talk about that. Is there a duality of purpose? And it makes me feel like I was going to get bollocked by Mr. Prain, age 10. But you know what? I also know that this makes him brilliant with finance. And if he's prepared to check my coffee expenses, he's checking everything else.
Yeah.
So really, what we're talking about here is trying to transcend your own ego. Know when your ego serves you. Know what you're good at. Be authentic about that. But then also stay humble. Because, like Ashley said, if you don't humbleize yourself, the world will humbleize you. And I know if Mark comes out to humble me with my expenses, it means I'm not on top of them. So I try and learn that, if I don't humbleize myself, it's like if you don't disrupt yourself, you'll get disrupted. If you don't work on your weaknesses, then something will throw a challenge at you to force you to work on your weaknesses. If you don't humbleize yourself, you'll get humbled or humiliated. That's why we have marriage.
The biggest lesson going every day.
15 years of progressive property. What's the next 15 years got in store?
Well, I'm working on a big project with my training businesses, but I can't tell anyone about it. So sorry about that. But it is quite big.
Told us about Jake Paul. Come on, there's only 12.
Yeah, but that's happening the day after tomorrow.
Oh, that's true. Okay, fair enough.
So there's a big project in the training businesses. I'm going to continue to develop out my personal brand because, I have 1.1 million followers on social media. Probably make 100 grand a month now from my social media directly. Whereas, that would have been 12 grand a month or 15 grand a month a year and a half ago. Now, 100 grand a month, I can make that way more easily in a month. But I'm thinking, where's that go in 2 years or 3 years or 5 years? Look at all these YouTubers. I've just done my first 6-figure sponsor deal. So someone's sponsoring me more than £100,000 plus that for a 6-month sponsorship deal. So building out the personal brand, Mark's going to probably... Here's the thing. We're developing 142 units right now. And it's, when a president goes in with black hair and comes out with grey hair, well, that's exactly what these developments have done to Mark. And Mark's like, I need a frickin' break. But I think once he has a break, he'll probably start buying up some different types of stock. I'm really excited about the creator space. I've got my NFT launch coming in a few weeks' time. So creator economy, creator space, personal brand. I think there's some big plays in there, which could end up dwarfing everything we've done. It could end up dwarfing the 20-odd million a year, in a good year we've done in our training businesses. It could end up dwarfing the tens of millions of real estate that we own. Really could end up dwarfing. Because, that kid Ryan makes 27 million on YouTube. Now, his overhead's not going to be much because he hasn't got... management, maintenance, tenants, boilers, yada, yada. So let's assume he's got a 20% overhead. It can't be more. Let's assume he's making net 20 mil. How many, you'll know this, Paul. Well, you won't know, but you'll know where I'm going. How many fucking properties do you have to own to earn 20 mil net a year? Yeah. You probably have to own 2,500 units. And with property, there's grief. There's tenants. But there's voids. There's maintenance. There's planning. There's all sorts, insurance. But these digital assets, these YouTube channels, you've got cancel and deplatform and algorithm issues, but man, the overhead and the risk is way lower. You've got no leverage, no banks. So creator economy is where I'm going for the next few years, definitely.
Creator economy's got to be so exciting for you because you actually started out as a creative who then sort of convinced yourself that you hated.
Yeah, all these new things were in my closet for years. Yeah. I was an artist, and I am quite creative. I was doing YouTube videos in 2008 in those ridiculously stripy shirts. Yeah. And just took a 7-year break to build a business because Mark wanted me to focus on it.
You're very grateful for it, aren't you?
Yeah.
There you go.
Do you think you'll continue to... Somebody's asked this question on YouTube, actually. We'll get on to questions after in a little while, but do you think you'll continue with the real estate investment and as well as alternative forms of investment and doubling down in the creator economy and stuff like that?
There is proven growth in real estate and land since 1088. There is proven growth in Bitcoin since 2013. So let's not fucking get ahead of ourselves. So I'm a lover of physical real estate for sure, but I'm also a lover of digital real estate. And why would you only do one or the other? You don't want full exposure in one asset class. So 100% all over. Physical real estate forever. That'll be the backbone of what we do. It'll be the lever and the springboard upon which we can build everything.
The great thing is that anything you do in the creator space or anything that turns quicker cash, because you've got that experience of building a portfolio the hard way, the old way, you can just, fast pounds can get put into really safe assets that can build long-term wealth that, like you say, like banks and organisations actually understand. So you're in a great position after 15 years. It was worth the journey, wasn't it?
Well, that's the warm-up done.
Yeah.
I mean, I always knew I wanted to be in business for life. I always knew that I loved being an entrepreneur. Of course, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm sure I've got to keep myself humble because there's challenges to come. I feel like we weathered the COVID and the lockdowns as well as we could. I mean, you know, we've got to give ourselves some credit there. We often don't. Entrepreneurs are really hard on themselves often, and we're always comparing ourselves to other people, and often we're not very good at patting ourselves on the back, and I've tried to learn to do that a bit more, which is why I tried to sort of breathe in this 15-year anniversary. They say something like 90% of companies fail in the first 1 or 3 years, and then that sort of cycle continues. So having a company 15 years puts you in the top 1 or 0.1%. And I would just go, yeah, but, you know, Steve Jobs did more. Because I'm quite hard on myself.
Yeah.
But actually, it's nice to come down and hang out with you guys and sort of feel it. You know, go, it's not bad.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of those haters, like, Rob and Mark, they're not going to be in it. You know, they're going to be gone and all that. Well, they're gone and we're still here.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So we can't have you down in the studio without talking about the next big thing that is coming up. Obviously, you sort of famous and infamous within the events world, and obviously COVID and lockdowns and all that sort of stuff. You very successfully pivoted. I hate that word now. I've actually it makes me shudder to my very core. But
Evolved.
Evolved. There you go. Thanks.
Yeah.
Evolved them online, and you've got an amazing online summit that's coming up very shortly. And Jesson was in last week, I think. Was it this? Yeah, this time last week, wasn't it? Talking about it as well. So you've pulled together quite the lineup, it has to be said. So there's you and Jesson, not disregarding that, but there's also the likes of...
I like to punch above my weight.
Yeah, clearly. Elena Cardone.
Yeah.
And the one I'm really, really excited about, because I love Elena, but Alan Barrett from Grenade. What a journey, what a story he's got. So tell us a bit about the Online Business Summit, scale your business.
So we planned our first big face-to-face business summit. The first one for years, and then we had that soft lockdown, and we couldn't take the risk of hiring a big London venue and, you know, paying tens of thousands for hotels and AV. So we evolved the event. We didn't pivot it into the Online Scale Your Business Summit. So the date should be on the page. It's 18th to 19th of March. And a lot of people say to me, Rob, all this startup stuff's good, but no one really does events for scale-ups, i.e. if you've started a business, you've got 1, 3, 5 years experience, you want to go from 5 to 6 figures, 6 to 7 figures, 7 to 8 figures. There's quite a lot of frustration in our communities because everyone seems to focus on startups. Yep. So we wanted to do something whereby if you're already, by the way, if you haven't started, you can still attend the Scale Your Business Summit. But it's geared for growth, for business growth. So, I say this with humility because I've always got more to learn. We pulled off a miracle evolving our business through the lockdown. I had 250 people on my payroll when lockdown happened, and I lost virtually none of them. And we made one of our most profitable years in lockdown, and I paid my biggest tax bill. Not many people can say that in lockdown who ran physical events that were all shut down. So I can scale businesses in good times and bad times. Honestly as well, I love talking about the scale up stuff more than just the how to make your first $1,000 or anything like that. Nothing against that, we've all got to do that. But I like how to go from 100 grand a year to $1 million, $1 million to 10 million, 10 million to 20 million, 20 million to 50 million, 50 million to 200 million. Now, I have not done 200 million in a year or a deal, but Al Barrett has. Yep. So that's why I got him. So Al Barrett's my mate. He's a really cool guy. He is more blunt and upfront than I am. His
board must be absolutely terrified on a daily basis. If Mark's concerned about you, Al's board 100%. Must be shitting themselves every day.
So most people will know the brand Grenade. They started with fat burners, and now, I mean, to be a better selling chocolate bar than Mars when you're a protein bar is a miracle.
And £3 a bar.
Yeah, so £3 a bar. Do you remember back in the day when eating a protein bar was like eating chipboard?
Yeah.
Some of them
still are. Look out for your jaw, wasn't it?
What is it they call it? MDF? Is that what it's called? That was what eating a protein bar was like. And he now has made it taste better than a Mars bar, and he sells more protein bars than Mars bars sell Mars bars. That.
Nuts,
So if you want, forget my miracles through the lockdown. That's a miracle. So he's my mate. He's just sold his share of Grenade for £200 million. So in dollars, that's about 20 billion. You know, that's big. So
It's about 4 bitcoins.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now it's about 900 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And so what I've done here is pulled in some favours. Elena Cardone, like, there's not enough inspiring female speakers out there. And Grant and Elena are friends of mine. I've had Elena on my podcast. And if you want to build an empire, Grant or Elena are the power couple, aren't they? They are the power couple. So I've picked these guests wisely. Jessen's got 7 businesses. Jessen's the serial entrepreneur. I'm just me. Elena is the empire builder, the power couple, and Al Barrett is, the guy who's sold out for 200 mil. So if you're not prepared to invest, not even 100 quid to learn from those 4 guys, then you've got bigger problems than COVID, I think, just being honest. I've carefully selected, and you'll notice it's not 28 speakers. We're at 60-minute pitch, 60-minute pitch, 60-minute pitch. It's not that. It's just 4 speakers. Jessen's going to be the host, and we're going to teach you how to scale up your business. So we're going to focus on building your personal and your business brand, and I'm going to do a fair bit of that. We're going to focus on monetizing your business and your brand. We're going to focus on scale up, which is essentially marketing and brand. And here's the thing no one really is talking about so much in business at the moment: how to sell and close. It's almost like a dirty word talking about sales and closing, unless you're Jordan Belfort or someone like that. But so we've got the business and personal brand, the multiple streams of income from that brand. We've got the scaling and the marketing and the sales. Can you pop the link up?
It's up there. Yeah, it's in the room. It's on the room. Top of the room.
We're planning on having maximum 250 people at this event. It's online, yeah, so in theory you can have a lot, but we keep the comments on. One, because I love reading all the hater stuff. It just makes my day. But we keep... most people, when you do an online event like this, they turn the comments off. What if someone complains? What if it's this? No. We keep the comments on, and through the whole 2 days, people can ask questions, engage. We'll do a Q&A with Al. We'll do a Q&A with Elena. It won't just be in and out. Al's really generous with his time. I know he'll give us a Q&A. I love doing Q&As. It's my favourite kind of form of content. This kind of format I prefer than a 60-minute sort of keynote speech. So we're gonna cap it at 250. I know that we've already sold quite a few tickets. And how many have you got in the room?
220 odd at the moment.
There you go. So that's pretty much the capacity. So make sure you click at the link at the top and go and do it now. Now, if you have any issues with the page or registering or joining, just DM one of us.
Yeah.
There's different ticket levels, but when we were going to have this face-to-face in the room, we were thinking of charging anywhere between 500 quid and 1,000 quid. It wasn't one of these introductory seminars. That's not what we wanted it to be. It was a 2-day masterclass. So we were going to price it at the 500 quid to £1,000 level. Also, hotels in London are 30 grand a day. AV is 20 grand a day. So we'd have had to pay for that. But because it's online, we're able to offer a discount. We'll do the best discount for your community as well. So we'll put the price up as we get nearer the event. So you're absolutely guaranteed you guys get the best price. So actually on the silver ticket, it's £95 plus VAT. And then there's a platinum option where you've got various different benefits. You've got sort of masterminding with us, and you've got various different bonuses, etc. And those options are on the page. So either take the silver or the platinum ticket. But I would say right now, there's this sort of divide between winners and losers. People say the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. That will always be the way. There are universal laws that dictate that. And because of these disruptive times right now, what you'll see is those that struggle, they will be evolved out. The businesses that can't evolve, they'll get wiped out. It happens with nature. Those in nature that don't evolve, they get wiped out. So if you're in retail, brick and mortar, local, hairdresser, gym, restaurant, hotel, blah, 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 travel, you could be fucked. And it's very likely that those businesses are going to go under. However, YouTubers are making tens of millions. People are launching NFTs and making millions. People are buying land in the metaverse for millions. There's all these new exciting opportunities. Creators, like a year ago, we all knew each other before this, but a year ago and a month, this didn't exist, Breakfast with Winners. This community, these opportunities, these events you run, these sponsorships you do, and all of this. And it happens so quick that you're like, what is this? Got a nice studio, but this is going to grow to be something very big for you guys because it's a big part of this central creator economy. So there's massive opportunity in the creator economy for sure, but you have to understand the principles of scale. There are 7 principles of scale. They all begin with P, and that will be the focus of Jessen's content. So make sure if you're listening, you click the link at the top. The guys have pinned it to the top. If you want to learn the 7 Ps, the principles of scaling, if you think that I can, if you like my vibe and what I'm about, then, I'm going to do the personal brand bit. I'm going to do the creator economy a bit. I'm going to do monetizing. Because 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I was making nothing on my personal brand. A year ago, I was making 10, 12 grand chicken feed. Now it's dinosaur feed. It's like...
I wonder where that analogy was going to go. Like.
100 grand, the one with the big long neck. Yes. 100 grand a month, recurring income from content I was already doing. Here's the funny thing. 2-3 years ago, I was doing more content than I am now.
Yeah.
I'm doing less, but I'm doing way more repurposing and way more multi-stream living. I'm only really doing about an hour of content a day. I was doing 3 hours a day back then, but I was going live on Facebook, then live on Instagram, then live on whatever, then live on whatever, then going into the studio, then doing the pre-records, then writing the blogs. But now I'm able to do it all together. So in 18 months, I've gone from pretty much 0 to 100 grand a month plus on recurring income from the creator and digital economy. And that's just the start. Like I said, I just pulled off this 6-figure sponsorship deal. It's 6 months. It's not a year. It's 6 months.
That's for the podcast as well, isn't it? That's big money in the UK podcasting because the money's still catching up.
Podcast and some other assets as well.
Right.
I've just done. Someone's just paid me 15 grand for a podcast ad, which is not bad.
That's good. That's good.
And I get about £150 1,000 downloads. I'm at the higher end because it's entrepreneurial content. So basically, I'm going to cover monetizing your personal brand, creating multiple streams of income from all these digital assets. Jessen's going to do the 7P principles of scaling your business. Elena's going to do, building an empire and managing, having a power couple and that dynamic. A lot of people in entrepreneurship say, should you date or marry an entrepreneur? How do you balance entrepreneur with family? Let's be honest, Grant and Elena have done that pretty much better than anyone. And then Al's going to talk about how to build a massive brand, oust Mars, and then sell out for 200 million. So who's
the other person? We asked Justin last week. He said it's to be revealed. So he said that you would tell us though. So who are the other people? I'm pretty sure he told us that you tell us.
It's a mystery guest speaker for a reason.
Okay.
It's Jake Paul.
It will be after Friday.
So yeah, that's we'll keep that a surprise, but it'll be. I'll probably get a billionaire. I've got a fairly decent WhatsApp contact list of billionaires. It'll probably be a billionaire. I can't say for sure, but it probably will.
You available that day, Paul?
I might be.
Check your diary.
Check the diary. Yeah.
Paul gets dizzy when he leaves this city, doesn't he?
He don't like it.
No.
It's because of his flying.
Yeah.
Also with Elena, I have to say that I interviewed her for a podcast and I've obviously read her book before interviewing her. She is more than Grant Cardone's wife.
Yeah.
And she's a very, very, very smart operator. Very 100%. Smart operator. And to take, the fact that she was in the sort of the media world and the acting space and, those people by default have to have an ego, to put her ego in a bag and to understand the role that she plays, but actually the strings that she pulls, she is more than Grant's +1. And he would say that he wouldn't have done half of what he'd done. She was the reason that they got the jet. She was the reason why she was like, I think you're playing too small, and really called him out on his own shit, basically. So that is not, Elena being there is not a, that'd be nice to hear about what Grant Cardone's wife's got to say. Like, she's an operator.
100%. I think she's great. I interviewed her. I got to know her. I think she's probably a bit misunderstood in the shadows of Grant, but she's definitely not.
But she plays that card so well, because even when I had her on and I was trying to make it about her, intentions. Like, well, let me make sure that it's not just like Mrs. Cardone. She kept bringing it back round to what he had done and the sort of the inadvertent power that she'd allowed him to, the wind in the sails sort of thing. She's very smart,
like,
Freya.
If there's any ladies, females in this room right now, they need to jump on the Scale Your Business Summit just for Elena Cardone. Because, a lot of people are saying females aren't represented as well. They don't earn as well. So, I'll be straight up with you. I've paid Elena good money to come.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And sometimes I very rarely pay guests because I've got a good contacts book. But when I go, do you know what? It's worth paying and I'll get the deal done. I won't mess about. So I've, paid her a fair fee to her. So this is me saying we support, standing up for female leaders. And because here's the thing, and people wouldn't know this, but it is way harder to get a female guest on your show than it is a male. I don't know why. A lot of the females say, it's probably you, Rob. It might be me. But it might also be that they're a bit worried about, putting their voice out there. It might be that they've got they're looking after their children. There's lots of reasons. I don't think it's me, because actually it's my agent that reaches out. But I fight really, and people don't know this, but like my MD is female. Much of our senior management team have been or are female. I think that generally speaking, empathy is much higher in female leaders. And so I'm doing my bit to vote for and promote and push more female leadership. I'm trying to get more females on my podcast. I've got Elena Cardone on the Scale Your Business Summit. But here's the thing. Every other female needs to stand up as well and come and support and jump in. And it's 50 quid a day. It's nothing. I spend that on coffee a day.
This is why
Pretty much do.
for your expenses.
Do you know what I asked everyone to get me for Christmas? Costa coffee vouchers. And it's so sweet. All my coffees this month have been free. Feels like such a life hack. So great.
We'll do a quick reset and then we'll come back and take some questions, shall we?
Yeah,
let's
why
do
not?
Q&A. I love
Click
Q&A.
the link at the top of the
Yeah,
room
do that
while you're
now.
there as well.
Don't wait. Do that now.
You are listening to Breakfast with Winners. Exclusive content direct from the Winners Club. If you are enjoying the conversation, click on the green Monopoly house at the top of the screen right now and join the thousands of winners already in our community. For even more actionable content and powerful lessons, download the free companion app now. Just search for the Winners Club in the App Store or Google Play. For more information about the Winners Club and how to become part of our growing community, head to thewinnersclub.club. Now, back to the show.
Hello everyone, we are back. This is Breakfast with Winners. We've got Rob Moore here with us live in our studio. You can watch it via YouTube. You can click, actually you can't click on the link at the top of the screen because the link at the top of the screen is for the Scale Your Business Summit, which we're going to keep there. But go over to YouTube and search for the Winners Club and you'll find us live on YouTube. So we're going to dive into some Q&A. We've had some questions in the background, but we're going to do it from the people that are up here on stage. So flash your microphones if you've got a question for Rob and all of the topics that have come out of conversation this morning. Flash away so I can see who is there. Keep going so I can see. Iffy Thomas, good morning.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday to you all. You know Wednesday's my favourite day. We don't call it hump, we call it oomph, but in my family it's a little bit of a children with COVID. So I've not been able to be in the room as much, but what I have been hearing is great. I love the idea of Elena Cardone. You know, that's one of the pulls for me. And just, I have a bit of a question and also a comment. You know, what you said, Rob, you know, women, maybe they don't come on the podcast because they're looking after their children. That in itself was like, no, that's not why for me or for many women. It's not because we're looking after our children. We've got childcare. And, you know, I've worked really hard to make sure my children are looked after. I think that what I find, and I'm definitely going to support the event because I want to listen to Elena Cardone, and they are a power couple. But what I find is that it is very heavily male dominated. And for a woman to get in, I feel like you have to really stick your neck out and really like push yourself in. And sometimes when you push yourself in, actually what happens is you then have to kind of adapt your real personality so that you can get seen. So I know what you're doing is great for women, but even the comment, maybe because we're looking after our children, might actually, that's not the reason why. The reason why I feel like I have to work twice as hard to get onto a stage or get onto a podcast is because I'm dealing directly with majority of men. You know, I built my business run a network of chartered accountants. Actually, I have an accountant local to you in Peterborough, and I was like literally the only black female person in that space. So it's very male dominated. So I think bringing Elena Cardone is great, but we need some more women as well. So there's a variety of different women. And yeah, I'll always be there. Whenever there's a woman, I'll support them. But we just need more of them. So please keep doing events. And my question to you is, how do you decide what women you ask to go on your podcast?
Okay, so the reason I mentioned some of those examples of why it might be more difficult for women is because they're reasons I've been told, not because I've made an assumption. So just to be clear on that. And I did actually do a social media post saying that we get way more rejections and it's much harder to get women on the show. And I asked why. And of course, I took some flack and criticism for that and a lot of people throwing it back at me. But I'm doing it. They're not. And I'm putting my head above the parapet to say I'm fucking trying my best here. So
I know, because you've gone after some big female guests, haven't you, as well on the podcast?
I have, and I'll keep trying. But I've landed loads of big male guests. But why has it been so hard to land? Like, I've approached every female billionaire. None. Except, actually, we've got our first female billionaire. Now, I approach billionaires because...
Rob, I was just wondering, so the billionaire females, I don't even know who they all are, because, you know, but those women, are you saying that they responded and said they couldn't come because they couldn't get childcare?
No, I'm saying that the feedback from some of the people who give reasons why women can't put themselves in the limelight as much is because they have to look after their children. So it's not like a billionaire has said, sorry, I'm looking after my kids. It's usually when we've discussed why we can't get more women on the show or at our events, etc., is because that's one of the cited reasons. So I'll come back to that. So Jo Malone, we got her agreed years ago, and it just took forever, and in the end they bailed. Jacqueline Gold, we've been working on for 2 years. She's the founder of Ann Summers. We finally got it agreed. Hush Hush, she may be the mystery guest. Founder of Ann Summers. It's actually their big anniversary year this year. And by the way, here's the funny thing, Iffy, I'll pay. Like, I'm not just trying to look for a favor. I'd pay Sarah Blakely tens of thousands to come on my show. I would. But now, by the way, I'm not approaching them personally. I've got an outsourcer, a manager, an agent. He does all of that. So unfortunately, you have to take out of the equation, well, it's you, Rob, because you're a dick. Because it's not that, because it's not me. But we approach in the same way. But yeah, it's now there are less female billionaires than there are male billionaires. So we factor that in. But yeah, we're doing our damn best, and we'll always take feedback as to how we can do more. But look, like I said, this is every female leader's chance in this room to come on and jump on this summit and put their hand up and say, hey, I'll support it because we're doing our best. And if I can get Jacqueline, you know, the founder of Ann Summers, I'm actually interviewing her for the show, and I'm going to a sort of mansion. I think she lives in Surrey. So that's done now, but it's taken 2 years. And look, this could trigger people, but it's just a fact that I'm experiencing that it's way harder to get women on the show, or you get them agreed. They change the dates and they change their mind a lot more. And again, I'm just saying it's not, I'm just pointing out my experience. And so I'm championing this. Like I said, I've got a strong female-driven culture in our organisation because the empathy is much higher, generally speaking, and that's how we like to run our companies. People don't know this about me. I don't even ever talk about it. And because of the mouth that I've got, I'll say something and it'll get twisted, or I'll get in shit for it. But we are doing our best, and I'm always open to feedback. So if anyone's got any suggestions, fire them my way.
Brilliant. Thanks, Iffy.
Sorry, if you did, was that the question? Did you get it answered?
Yeah, no, I did partly. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for bringing it to the conversation. And, you know, there's people like Shonda Rhimes, who has a TED Talk called The Year of Vision. She talks about how she's constantly balancing, like she has most hours on television ever. Shonda Rhimes, you know, Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder. She is like a boss lady, and she talks about work-life balance and how there isn't any. So I think it's great what you're doing, and I'll definitely be at the event, you know, to support everyone who's there. But it will be exciting to listen to Elena Cardone. I just think that the other part of the question is, how would somebody, what's the criteria for somebody to approach you? Because you're approaching these billionaires, but say, for instance, when you're the people maybe on a different level, how would those people get in touch with you? Would they position themselves and say, you know, I've recognized there's not particularly lots of women on your podcast, I'd love to come and show a different narrative? How would that work? And do you get many women actually approaching you directly to be on your podcast?
Yeah, I do get some. I get less than men. And then when this discussion comes out every 6 months, I get approached, and that's all good. So my criteria for having people on my show: number one, how successful are they? Because, you know, I know that's a definition. We could all argue what that means, but you know, my concept is to help entrepreneurs. So they have to be a really successful entrepreneur. So unfortunately, that means some other people that would be otherwise really good, they're probably not yet ready to be on the show, because I have to have a certain level of, you know, results in entrepreneurship. Number two, how much influence do they have on this planet? I'm looking to interview people with big influence. And then number three, maybe they don't have massive influence or massive following or massive celebrity or massive notoriety or massive success, which I am looking for those things because I want my show to be about that. If they've got an amazing story, and then all those other criteria are loosened if they have an amazing story. I'm open to some other concepts that are experimental. Like, I'd get in a room with sort of 5 or 6 women and discuss dating and entrepreneurship, or being a female in the entrepreneur's world.
You've done it recently, didn't you? You had a round table about a year ago.
Yeah, I did. I had a round table, and I got sort of, I think, about 8 women in, and we discussed all of that, and that seemed to go down quite well. So I'm always up for being creative. But, you know, if someone comes to me and, you know, they're turning 20 grand a year over and they've got 12 followers on social media, they don't meet the criteria for my show, you know, because obviously we all have to have a certain quality criteria.
That's me out then. I won't be waiting
Sorry,
for my
honey.
invite then. That's me done.
What does Paul's social media say?
Oh,
for you?
no, backwards growth.
Jagdeep, let's bring some sense to this, please, my friend. You've got a question.
Listen, thank you. I just back-channeled Paul and said Master Rob. I think the stuff that you've done over the last year, you should be called Master Rob here on the Clubhouse. Rob, my question is, you know, congratulations on 15 years of your business. In the beginning, how did you put yourself in front? Because it's kind of like links to what Iffy was also asking in that context, is how did you get yourself in front of the companies that you wanted to work with in the beginning? That's where a lot of us might be at the moment. So where I struggle is trying to, I wouldn't want to come to you directly because I feel that's too sales, but I want to see what strategy can I use through an introduction, or what's the best way to put yourself in front of a company? Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, my friend. So when I first started, I did nothing because I was scared. Then I just relentlessly bugged everyone until Rachel Elnor, who was on the Dragon's Den at the time, she replied back in the end going, "What the fuck do you want? You keep messaging me. What do you want?" I was like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Because you've just got to approach people. So I sort of swung from one extreme to the other. I'm a bit of a simpleton in many ways. I always take people at face value. I always trust what they say. That's one of my weaknesses as well as strengths. And if I'm told to do something, I'll just go and do it. And sometimes I'm quite literal. So, you know, it's all about a numbers game. So I'm messaging about a zillion people a day and whatever else. So I went from not doing it to probably doing it too persistently without an outcome. So then what I started doing is reaching out to people and working out how I could help them and offering some help and offering some kind of connection. And that started to work a bit better. So, you know, if you want to get someone on your show, for example, then share their show on your social media first. before you reach out to them. If you want to do business with anyone, go and buy one of their products or services first. If you're going to DM someone, go and comment on 5 or 10 of their posts first. Look at how you can give first, and how you give first, obviously, for law of reciprocity, but you also give to get on their radar. Because if you cold outreach someone, it does work, but it works 5%. But if they're a customer of mine, or they watch all my social media videos, or they comment, or they've just asked a question. So Iffy and Jagdeep always ask questions to me whenever I come in the room. They're always the first two. They're on my radar. I know the names of these people, whereas there's other people that sit and listen and don't do that. So getting on someone's radar first is a better in, because then they see you and they take notice. And then finally, there's got to be a fit. Because like Rachel Elmore was like, well, back then there wasn't podcasting. So I just wanted to meet her, but she probably thought I was some weird stalker, but why did I want to meet her? But James Caan and people like that, they opened the door. Like, yeah, all right. Well, I remember reaching out to Andreas Paniotto, who's a billionaire property investor, and he's like, yeah, all right, lads, come down to the office. I'll give you an hour. So sometimes people will just give back, and they'll give you an hour because they like your hustle, or they see something in you that was in them. But now we're all more busy, and now, everyone's getting DM left, right, and centre. So there's probably a bit less of that than there was 15 years ago. But all you have to do now is have a podcast, because then when you've got a podcast, there's a reason to be on the podcast. So I hope those little tips help.
Thank you so much.
Brilliant. We'll go to Nish. We'll try and get quick questions to the point, and then we'll try and get through as many as we can in the next 10 minutes. Nichelle, you have a question, then we'll come to Sarah, and I'll work down to Mimi next. Nichelle.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Paul. Rob, I think you're far from a simpleton. I think you're a genius. But having said that, no, I'm joking. My question is...
Wait a minute. Don't take the compliment back. Brilliant. Don't take it back.
I'm just joking. So my question is, when you're the strategy on booking women into conferences or events, right? So is it too far out there to say, let's go for the billionaire global, female leader, but let's book the event around her when her availability is? Because you said, they're always changing dates. Now, I know that's, a bit of a generic comment, but
yeah, more so than men, but that's like not always. So yeah.
But so what I've experienced when I work with global clients is, especially when women go on maternity leave and they come back, and the bosses are kind of like, oh well, I don't want to put her under any pressure, and she's not done this and she's not done that because she's now got kids. And it's kind of like putting yourself in women's shoes, in terms of, yes, they are running a business, yes, they are probably running the childcare and running the house, and who needs a husband, but in terms of putting ourselves into women's positions, like this guy who had this female who came back from paternity leave, he was like, I had no idea that becoming a new mum could rock your confidence, and you're not the same person going back into work that you were when you rocked the department without any kids or anybody else to think about. So when we look at women and what they do, or anybody that is rocking their thing, it's like putting ourselves in their perspective. But is it too out there to say, well, let's just go for and book the woman around her diary, rather than maybe booking the men first and then offering the woman a date that's available? Does that make sense?
If I'd have done that with Joe Malone, that would have been in the next millennium. So I'd have been a bit struggling there. And also, you probably got a 2.5, 3 month window really for an online event to get it all done. So, we're doing our best. Equality is also equal. It's not, swinging way too far the other way. But if I can pull off getting Jacqueline Gold or someone like that, or a billionaire-ess or some other mega successful, because look, Scale Your Business Summit is for someone who's scaled their business. Elena Cardone's the right fit, Al Barrett's the right fit, Jacqueline Gold would be the right fit, the founder of Ann Summers, and she's awesome as well. A lot of my top picks who I'd love to have on the podcast are women. Vivienne Westwood, she's like my all-time favourite. I'd love to get on the podcast. And we got an agreement, but then that still hasn't come off, and we got that agreement 4 years ago. So I want it to make it happen more than any others, but I don't know if it's an issue with diary or not. I haven't figured out, or it could be a variety of things. What I will say is, and I might not be 100% popular saying this, but I don't care because it's true. The females have got to come and support the females. So if I look at the people who've joined the Scale Your Business Summit and there's 3 females and 12 men who've joined, give me strength. Come on. You know, like I've got Elena, I've paid her a lot of money to come. She's fucking awesome. But there needs to be that support coming in from, it needs to be people like me who've got the balls to come out and talk and maybe get criticised for it. But then got to be supported by the audience members. That's really important, which is, I didn't expect to come down here and even have this conversation, by the way. And I ain't fucking coming back if we do. So I'll tell you what, I will say 90% priority that mystery guest speaker is a female. As long as I can pull it off and I don't have the same issues, I will say 90% that mystery speaker is going to be a female. So that's 2 out of 5. It's not bad because you can't do 2.5. So I'll turn up in a dress. I was actually thinking when I was interviewing Jacqueline Cold, I was actually thinking of wearing some lingerie.
That would be horrific. On every level, that would be
my
horrific.
wife never fucking wears it, so maybe I can.
Right. Well, next question.
I don't mind staying an extra 10 minutes if you...
Cool. Yeah. Well, Sarah, can I just ask one thing, guys? Can we put the issue to bed now that we've been speaking about and move on with other questions? So, Sarah, do you have a question? And is it away from that topic? And if so, fire ahead. Fire away.
Paul, you should see Paul squirming here.
I'm definitely a woman, by the way, but I am a 57-year-old woman that has not scaled a business. She's built a lifestyle business. I want to now go to the next level to scale it. And I've been looking at lots of different things, property. I've been looking at what you've been talking about, creative content. If you were me, what would you do?
Okay, so I don't know you really well, so I'll have to make some assumptions. Definitely come and join the Scale Your Business Summit because we're covering the 7 principles of scaling a business. We've sort of figured out a model, a replicable model. They all start with P. They're all sort of fundamental principles, etc. The date is 18th and 19th of March, so anyone can clear the time. It's going to be online. You'll also get a recording of the event when you join the event if you miss parts of the event. And there are so few scale-up summits. They're all start-up. So this is a very unique experience. And I know that the guys in the Breakfast with Winners community, you attract good quality entrepreneurs and scale-ups. So that being said, what would I do if I were you to scale your business? Okay, I'm gonna reel off a few tips. I'll do them super quick, and I will teach some of these at the summit. Number one is I'd go through and I'd look at all your clients, and I'd look at where the origin lead source of them is, and I'd reinvest more marketing back into the origin lead source. That sounds like such a simple thing, but most people who have more than 10 clients can't show me a spreadsheet of where they got every one of their clients from. Breakfast with Winners Club, Google AdWords on this keyword, TikTok ads, organic Facebook Live I did 3 weeks ago. There's about 50 or 60 different lead sources that you could find clients from. But if you don't know where you're finding your clients, how can you scale it? So you have to track where you get your client from exactly, and then where you get the best clients and the best spenders, you then reinvest marketing or time back into that lead source. So for example, people always say to me, Rob, why'd you write so many freaking books? Well, when I go to Cayman and people are being masterminded, have paid 25 grand to be on my mastermind, or I'm mentoring people at £40,000 plus VAT, and I ask them where they found me, 70% of them say, well, I first read your book Money, or I first read your book Life Leverage, or I first listened to your Disruptors podcast. So I know I get my high quality clients from those lead sources, so I'm prepared to pay to do advertising. I'm prepared to spend 20 quid to sell a 10 quid book. Because I know in every 1,000 buyers, I'm going to get a 40 grand client, for example. So that's one thing you can do that no one really does. The next thing is you've got to find out where your ideal client hangs out and who your ideal client is. So, my son, for example, said to me in the car, Dad, Facebook is for old people. But I thought, but Facebook is actually my best social media channel for clients. TikTok, it's a growing channel, But your average age demographic is 40, 50, 60 for property. That is about 72 years older than the average TikTok demographic. So TikTok's good for brand and growth, but it doesn't yet attract the ideal client. Yeah. But I'd have said that about Facebook 10 or 15 years ago. So knowing your ideal client and knowing where they hang around and then having a message for ideal client, that's definitely the second thing. The third thing is most people don't do this, but they don't ask for referrals. So every 3 months, phone up every one of your clients, and if you've got too many to do it yourself, you get one of your team members to do it. You ask them how they're getting on. Have they got any feedback? Is there anything they'd like us to do differently? You thank them. You say, is it all right if I phone you back in a few weeks if we've let you know of any improvements I've done? They say yes. You phone them back in 3 weeks and you ask for a referral. And if you get 20% referrals, that's 2 in every 10 clients. And people have 100 clients or 1,000 clients. But they weren't doing any of this in lockdown. They were just like, oh, shit, lockdown. But we do more than $1 million in revenue in referrals. Some people don't even do $1 million in their whole business. But referrals isn't just like, oh, well, maybe someone will refer me. Referrals is an active outbound campaign that you do to get referrals. A brilliant book on this is How to Sell Anything to Anybody by Joe Girard.
Brilliant. Great answer. Thanks for the question, Sarah.
Always a pleasure, never a chore. Are you coming to the summit, by the way?
Yes.
All right. Boom. I've scared every woman into joining.
Shamed people into turning up. Good way. I'll do that for birthday parties, to be fair. If you don't turn up, it means you don't like me.
Mimi, you was flashing. Do you have a question?
Yeah, please. Hello. Good morning, Rob. Good morning, everybody.
Hey.
You might cover this in the summit. I am part of your membership and I have signed up for the summit already. But what my dilemma is right at this moment is I've been growing my brand for the last few years and working on my following, and I have a big following now. But all of a sudden, since January, I've always had one-to-one clients and it's been a lifestyle business. But now I can't cope with the amount of clients I'm signing a week. They're all mainly coming from recommendations, but then also I've got speaking events and other things that are taking off and collaborations. So I just wanted to ask you, how do you go from this sort of like lifestyle business to scaling the business up? Obviously, you're going to talk about that at the summit, but I can't do sort of like put them into mastermind groups or into these sort of like group coaching because they're all CEOs or high net worth clients. So what would your advice be just to help me out at this moment, please?
Okay, cool. Yeah, we will cover, that will be the focus of the Scale Your Business Summit. So if anyone wants to go from one-man band to, hiring staff and one-to-many, etc., definitely make sure you join the summit. The link's at the top, I think. Have you still got the link at the top? Yeah, great. So a couple of tips. You've made an assumption there. You've said you can't do masterminds because they're kind of CEO level. Yes, you can. You just have to figure out a story that makes it a benefit to them. Like, I personally prefer being in a mastermind than I do having one-to-one mentoring. Because let's say we've got a billionaire in the room. James is going to ask different questions to me, to Ashley, to Paul, and I'm going to learn as much from the answers to James and Paul's and Ashley's questions as the ones that I asked. So maybe it's about repositioning the mastermind or repositioning your mindset of a mastermind. Like, I know many CEOs, they'd want to be in a CEO's mastermind because they can't find enough CEOs like them. So you could be one of the first people in your space to create the CEO's mastermind for CEOs who want to mastermind with other CEOs. So you could set up a mastermind, you just have to package it and position it. And what you do is you set up a mastermind and you have the price slightly lower than your one-to-one so you can attract more clients, but then you bang up your one-to-one price. So when I started, I ran a year-long mastermind for property investors for $2,000 plus VAT. Now my mastermind is $25,000 plus VAT and my one-to-one fees are $40,000 plus VAT. And your one-to-one fees need to be higher than your mastermind because it's more exclusive and it takes more time. Now here's the thing, I was always scared to put up the price. But what I did was waited until I was sold out, such that if I put up the price, there would be no real downside because I'm sold out anyway. And every time I put up the price, people approached me and bought it. And all of a sudden, because about sort of 7 or 8 years in, I thought, why don't I attract any sort of millionaire clients? Why don't I attract any famous clients or celebrity clients? And it's because my fees were too low. And you will only attract people who have a lot of money when your fees are a lot of money. So it's paradoxical thinking. People think the more I charge, the harder it is. But actually, the more you charge, the more you attract the higher quality clients, the celebrity clients, etc. So what I would do is I would create an intermediate level mastermind. Now they can be 6 or 12 people. They don't have to be 50 people. I've got a mastermind with 600 people on it. I've got a mastermind with 40 people on it. I've got a mastermind with 12 people on it. And then you can increase your one-to-one fees to attract people away from one-to-one and into your mastermind, although you'll end up charging more money for your higher clients anyway, so you'll end up making more money. I would probably have 3 levels. I'd probably have an introductory resource level. It might be 97 a month, 197 a month, 497 a month. At your level, 97 a month is nothing, but it's a resource, it's a community, it's where they all can kind of hang out. You've got a WhatsApp group or whatever, but make it a price in your niche that can attract hundreds of them. That's going to pay the bills. And then you move them into a mastermind, which is the second level, and that might be 6-seat, 12-seat, 18-seat, and that's going to be a bit lower than your current one-to-one. And then you've got your one-to-one, and your one-to-one's going to be maybe double what it is now. But my one-to-one fees went up from $2,000 to 48 grand in 15 years. I want to get my one-to-one fees up to 100 grand. That's a goal of mine. Just because if I can do that, it just shows the level that I'm at and the level of quality of people that I can attract. So I hope that helps.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate your answers. Thank you, guys.
Always a pleasure. By the way, men are allowed to come to the Scale Your Business Summit. I just wanted to say that. Paul's like, we'd moved on from that one.
Stop bringing it back to that.
No, I'm not. But Al Barrett is probably one of the best entrepreneurs in this country. He's definitely one of the most brutally honest entrepreneurs in this country. He's quite prepared to be unpopular to tell you what is true. Branding, he's been freaking brilliant. He had no money and he drove a tank through an exhibition. That's
right, yeah.
And so if you want to be about branding and disruption and uniqueness, and you know that, I don't know if you ever were reading those books 15, 20 years ago called guerrilla marketing. Yeah. You know, that phrase, no one really talks about guerrilla marketing now.
No, don't. That's how the nightclubs used to work with flyers.
Exactly,
guerrilla marketing.
But guerrilla marketing is essentially low-cost, high creativity. It's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
It's like attention and virality now. He is the guerrilla marketing godfather of entrepreneurship.
And still does it, because
now he's got the grenade balloon.
That's
the big
right.
grenade balloon. Yeah, and he owns the tank and all that.
Does the stuff with the jetpack guy.
Yeah.
The deliveries with the jetpack guy. What I really respect about Al, like I watched part of his business journey. I've driven past their HQ a number of times, and like it's really great. And I've listened to some podcasts where Julie, his wife, and him have sort of shared the mic, which is brilliant. But he had a very substantial business, and there's a lot of people during lockdown, and everyone's been a little bit sitting on the fence, not really sure. Al and James Haskell and some other fitness influencers were like, why are the gym shut? This doesn't make any sense. No one's talking about health and fitness. Everyone's talking about getting jabbed. Why is no one talking about vitamin D3 and K2? Why is no one talking about exercise? Why is no one talking about fitness? Get the gyms back open. And he rolled that tank and stuck it on Parliament Square. Yeah. And I was like, fair play. Because this is a guy who's 2 months after that, he's selling out to Mondelez for 200 million quid.
Yeah.
So he's someone who's got something to lose, but stands by, it's not just guerrilla marketing for the sake of attention. It's actually what he believes in wholeheartedly as well.
Right. So I've got a plan, what we can do to get attention for Breakfast for Winners.
Okay.
Cheap marketing. I've got access to a plane. We can hang Ashley from the plane or something.
Yes.
Throw him out, parachute.
Or no parachute, either way, throw him out. That could work, couldn't it?
Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to see him.
Yeah, that's achievable.
Like a little dot hanging off the back.
Lovely. You'd appreciate being a fellow pilot, Rob. You'd appreciate this, which you don't talk about a lot, by the way.
No, I don't. No.
But
you still do
feels
it?
like bragging.
Do you still do it?
Yeah, I'm a pilot.
Well, helicopters or planes?
R44 Robinson.
Helicopters.
R44 4-seater.
Helicopter.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean
very
nothing.
quick.
Sorry, helicopter.
Yeah, right.
very quick story. You probably haven't heard us talk about this. You'll find this very funny. So I took Ashley, said, "Can I come fly?" I said, "Yeah, no problems. I'll take you up." So he met me at the airfield. We went up, flew around for an hour or so. So I said, "Do you want to have a go?" He said, "Yeah, right." So I said, "Okay, this is what you have to do." I said, "See the horizon." I said, "Look, see the dashboard of the plane. See where the horizon is." He went, "Yeah." So he's nodding along. He's going, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." So you want to keep the horizon level And that's how you basically fly. So I said, you have control. Try and keep every time I gave him control, plane went like that. Right, okay. So after about 5 minutes, I realised, I said, look, the horizon, the line there, yeah, where the earth meets the sky, right? Yeah. Can you see that bit? You need to keep that level. He went, I can't see. He couldn't see over the dashboard.
He couldn't see the end of the earth.
He was so low in his seat, and I forgot he couldn't see the top of it, so he couldn't see the horizon.
But he didn't tell you.
No, he didn't tell me what the horizon was.
Kept diving the plane, didn't tell you.
We'll take one more question. One more question.
I try to just come in at 15:15, so I've got 5 minutes.
Flash of mics.
You guys are never late unless it's me on the show, are you?
Felicia.
It's consistent.
You are late.
No, only when you turn up.
Right,
so we're consistently
how I roll.
Bad when disrupting.
Extra
again.
value.
There you go. There you go.
We'll go for Felicia. Go for it.
Good morning.
Yo.
I wanted to ask this question before I knew Rob was the guest, so I think it's a great question that I have. My question, Rob, was what is the top 2 highly recommended podcast analytic platforms? I've had a podcast since February of 2019 before the pandemic, but right now, and I'll say I started that podcast with the idea in mind to extend the conversation from a women's conference that I curated in Chicago that year, and I just felt it was a great way because a conference limits the time you can spend with your guests. So that was the initial purpose. But long and short, I'm trying to find a better platform to track its reach. And to possibly position the podcast for monetization.
What are you using now?
I'm sorry?
What platform are you using now?
Oh, yeah, great question. At the time, I was recommended Buzzsprout by Pat Flynn.
Yeah, and what are you using now?
That's what I'm still
using. You're using Buzzsprout. Okay.
Yes.
I can't comment on that. I can only tell you what we use. We use Omni Studio. OMNY Studio. I haven't got anything to compare to, so it's a bit like marrying your childhood sweetheart.
They all did the same.
I haven't got anything to compare it to. So
just know that life's good at Buzzsprout and stay there.
But what Omni Studio syndicate us on every platform. So through Omni Studio, they host, and then we get pinged to Spotify and iTunes and Stitcher, and we can go on all the platforms from there. I personally don't like using ad platforms that force in ads on your show. I like to go direct to a sponsor, or a sponsor go direct to me and cut the deal directly. The reason being is if you have a channel and then they just feed in ads and then you get paid, you'll get paid not much. Like you'll get paid £5, £10, £15, 1,000 downloads probably, whereas you could get 10 times that going direct to a sponsor. And there'll be, ads for condoms and all other random shit that will be put onto your show, as opposed to brand fit ads. So I only want brand fit ads, and I want to be able to go direct to my sponsor because I'll get a lot more money. So that's why I don't use some kind of platform where their ad platform is part of that. I use an independent aggregating platform, if you like, which is Omni Studio, OMNY Studio. The analytics are good. Do you know what? I've never found a platform analytics which actually tells you how many accurate subscribers you've got.
No, they can't tell you that.
So you don't get that. You'll get downloads, and you'll get some other sort of randomish figures that you can't quite make out.
You can guesstimate the subscribers based on instant downloads.
And then every 6 months they change your algorithm and all it changes, and you think everyone's left your podcast, but they've changed it.
What did I do?
Yeah. So it's kind of a bit hit or miss with the analytics. For me, it's just about the growth curve. That's is it going up or down?
The best platform. So I'll jump in here, Felicia, as well, because obviously podcasting is something that Rob and I have in common. What you're talking about there is you've got a syndication software. So for any podcast to get onto Apple, Spotify, whatever you need, what's called an RSS feed. So Buzzsprout is effectively giving you the RSS feed. Now, whether you use Omni Studio, Buzzsprout, Libsyn, Acast, those platforms are all doing pretty much identically the same job. They are syndicating the content, and that's kind of it. In terms of analytics, Buzzsprout's got some fairly good analytics, to be fair. They're all right. They're as much as you're going to get on any other platform. There's another one called chartable.com. And that will actually show you chart positionings and that kind of stuff if your show is featuring within charts. And you've also got one called Listen Notes, so that will show you the percentage of how high your show is in terms of comparative listening to other podcasts. But what you're talking about there, Buzzsprout is doing the job that you need it to do. You just need to be able to read the analytics maybe a little bit differently. And you've also, you popped me a message in the DM saying you want to switch to a different platform, you don't want to lose your episodes. You can take those episodes with you, because again, you just have to switch the RSS feed. Pop me a DM and I'll jump on a quick call with you to do it, but it's relatively easy to do. You just need to let the new platform know that you're going to be moving and move the RSS feed. So that's a bit technical and geeky, but effectively that's Libsyn is the platform that I always use and recommend. I've got a call today with a British one called Captivate, who are doing some interesting stuff. They've just taken on some funding. So, yeah, I'll let you know if that's any good as well. But, yeah, Buzzsprout is doing the thing that you need it to do effectively. Check out Chartable. That will give you a good idea of where you're actually at in terms of your numbers comparative to other podcasts.
When it comes to monetization, listen to a load of podcasts that are in your niche. Listen to all the advertisers and approach them. It's just the easiest thing in the world. It's like, what nightclub's got all the people in it? That's where I'll go. I've just had an idea. Would you guys be up for doing a slot on the Scale Your Business Summit and doing a bit of a behind-the-scenes reveal of everything you've learned running the Breakfast with Winners Club over the last year and the journey, and maybe teaching some people behind-the-scenes stuff they wouldn't have had before, and not charge me a fee?
Do we have to dress Ashley up in a skirt?
I thought that was going to be the criteria. Yeah, but would you be up for doing a slot on the Scale Your Business Summit, saying the whole journey of this community, the highs and lows, the wins and losses, what you've learned, how you've evolved it, the plans for the future, how you're going to monetize it, all of that?
Yeah.
Let's
100%.
do it then.
In.
All right, we're in.
Done.
So if you don't now go to the link at the top.
No, you're mugging Ashley off.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't mug me off, guys.
Let's do it.
The link's pinned to the top of the room, guys, so go and check that out. What's it feel like to be in the company of two podcast legends today,
The link,
guys?
by the way, will...
Who are the...
You being the other legend?
There's three podcasters in here, so who are the two legends?
I think he's
Are
alluding
you the
to...
only non-podcaster?
Can you imagine him having a podcast? We'll call it the Chew Your Ear Off show.
No, but it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's coming. We just got to make sure that we explode Paul's up first, and he does his bit on his social medias.
Well, we've done. We're incrementally growing with Paul.
Kind of you.
No, just because it takes a lot of coaxing and coaching to get him to post more than once a week on his social media. We've kind of got our own Mark Homer situation going on here. Also, guys, just to let you know that link will disappear, I think, at the end of the room.
As soon as the room shuts, yeah. But we'll stick it on our link tree as well, so it's there.
And if you can't find it, just pop one of us a DM and we can pop you the link directly as well. But other than that, we better wrap up because
I can put my teeth back in.
He's got a car coming. We're running late. I've got some calls to make.
Thanks, Rob, for coming down.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in.
Good fun.
Awesome stuff.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
We will be back tomorrow morning, 6:30. What day is today?
Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow, Thursday, we're not here. Friday, we're back here. We've got Spencer Lodge coming in all the way from Dubai.
Oh, yes,
as
we
a guest.
Flying in.
Wow.
Especially for it. It's not especially for it, but let's just pretend it is. He's coming all the way from Dubai, especially for it.
He got on the plane just to come to the studio.
Thanks, Spencer Lodge. Anyway, cheers for your ears, gang. If you've got any questions or queries about the Scale Up Your Business Summit, please feel free to pop one of us a DM or click the link right now and then maybe copy the link so that when we close the room, you don't lose it. But we will see you. Turns out we'll see you there now at the summit. If you'd like to hear behind the scenes of what happens, in the word of Ashley Shipman, click the link and buy a ticket.
That was a good pitch.
That was good, wasn't it? Solid. Ta-da!
Let's go.